Attack on Titan, the strongest newcomer. Chapter 1. I am your instructor, my name is Keith Shotties. Listen up, you little brats, this is the training corps, and you. The instructor with a ferocious face glanced at the students on the training ground and said loudly, you, the future rations of the giants, will receive 3 years of training here. Listen up, there are a total of 282 students in the 104th term. I don't know how many of you will be able to graduate, but I can tell you that it will never be that easy to graduate in my hands, because when you really need to face the actual combat with the giants, the situation you face will be 10 or 100 times more cruel than you can imagine. The instructor's voice made Lin Kuan's ears numb. He had been in this world for several days, and everything he experienced seemed so strange. It was indeed a chaotic world. Lin Xuan sighed and secretly looked back. In the distance, Mikasa saw Ackerman with a scarf, Alan with a high spirit, and Armin who was distracted for some reason, as well as so many familiar faces among the 104th class students, made him feel very cordial. Although he was reluctant to admit it, he did travel to the world of Attack on Titan. This world is very unsafe, this world is full of dangers, and this is a place where the weak can't survive at all. The killing and oppression between the giants, the church, and humans are enough to make it impossible for an unknown person like him to survive. If you want to survive in troubled times, you must improve your strength and become a person like Captain Levi, or even more powerful than him. Hey, kid in the first row, what are you daydreaming about? Can you hear me calling your name? The instructor's rude rebuke interrupted Lin Kuan's fantasy and pulled him back from his beautiful dream to the cold training ground. Ah! Instructor, what can I do for you? Hearing the instructor's voice, Lin Xuan quickly stood up straight. This was a training corps, and the instructor was the law here. If you offended him, you would not have a good result. Training soldier Lin Xuan, tell me why you are in a daze on the training ground. The instructor came over waving the whip in his hand. Lin Xuan secretly swallowed his saliva. If this little whip hit him, his skin would be torn to pieces. I'm thinking about how to become stronger. Instructor, I want to become stronger, even stronger. Lin Xuan raised his head and chest and said loudly. Get stronger? What do you want to become stronger for? The instructor came in front of him, and the chill on his face could be clearly felt. Report to the instructor, I want to become stronger to protect the people I cherish and the people I care about. Lin Xuan hurriedly found an excuse and said it. Although he wanted to become stronger half to show off and the other half to save his life, this kind of thing cannot be said in front of so many people. The people you cherish are your relatives, right? The instructor seemed to be touched and thought that this boy was very responsible, so he patted Lin Xuan on the shoulder encouragingly. Lin Xuan seemed to be frightened by his action and blurted out, no, I want to protect Mikasa and Krista. As soon as these words came out, the whole training ground was in an uproar. Alan and Armin looked at Mikasa, Krista blushed, and the instructor's expression became distorted. It seemed that scorching heat was about to burst out from his head. Very good, you want to become stronger, right? Then run 50 laps along this playground to prove your strength. The instructor looked at this ignorant soldier with a sneer on his face. In the face of the huge threat of the giant, he still had such thoughts in his mind. He had to teach this kid a lesson. Ah! Now! Lin Xuan knew that he had said the wrong thing and accidentally said what was in his heart, but now that the words were out, it was impossible to take them back. What's wrong? Trainee, weren't you so arrogant just now? What? You can't even run now, do you want me to let someone show you how to run? The instructor's sneer became even stronger, and he shouted loudly, Mikasa Ackerman, Crystallines, step out. Lin Xuan was a little stunned, not knowing why he called these two people. Did he want to humiliate him and make him run in front of them? The two were also very stunned. At this time, they stepped out of the line and stood beside Lin Xuan. Mikasa glanced at him calmly, not knowing what he meant by that sentence just now. In her opinion, she didn't need anyone to protect her at all, and she had no interest in other opposite sexes. In her eyes, her world only had Alan and one person. And Krista herself was a very timid and shy person, so she blushed when she came up at this time, lowered her head and didn't dare to look at Lin Xuan. You two should teach this new recruit how to run, understand? The instructor said loudly, 50 laps each, start running now, and you are not allowed to eat lunch if you don't finish today. The faces of the three people changed at the same time. Mikasa looked at Lin Xuan with some annoyance. It was really unlucky to be implicated by him for no reason. And Krista was a little scared. 50 laps were too many. There was no way she could finish it. Lin Xuan almost cursed in his heart. He had made a mistake and caused the two girls to suffer with him. How could this be possible? Instructor, I know I was wrong, I know how to run, I will accept the punishment now, but please cancel the punishment for Mikasa and Krista, I am willing to accept the punishment on their behalf. Lin Quan's words caused an uproar in the training ground again. Running 50 laps by one person was already a life-threatening punishment, and the total of 3 people running 150 laps was 150 laps. If they ran 150 laps, wouldn't they be dead? Is this guy crazy? Armin whispered beside Aaron, and Aaron nodded, agreeing that it was impossible to finish 150 laps before noon. But he didn't want to implicate Mikasa and Krista, and he still admired this kind of personality. No need, 50 laps are still no problem for me. Mikasa said coldly, not wanting to accept Lin Quan's kindness. After hearing what Mikasa said, Krista gritted her teeth and said, Lin Xuan, I'm fine, I can do it by myself. How could Lin Xuan let them be implicated by himself? So he immediately said, it's okay, it's just running, no big deal. Boy, you said this yourself. Since you asked me to do this, I will grant your wish. 150 laps. You can have lunch only after you finish. Do you understand? Lin Xuan nodded. Can we start now? The instructor glanced at the time and nodded. Lin Xuan smiled slightly. He was not talking to the instructor, but to the system. Ding, the system prompts, the 2-hour timer begins, and completing the task will earn you a Novice Growth Gift Pack as a reward. This is what Lin Xuan was waiting for. Chapter 2. Instructor, I've finished running. Seeing that the bald instructor was stunned and did not respond to his words, Lin Xuan had to raise his voice and shout again. Oh, okay, go back to the team. The instructor came back to his senses, adjusted his mentality a little, and then said to Lin Xuan calmly. Lin Xuan immediately returned to the team, behaving like a good boy. He just made a mistake and was called out. Fortunately, the system has such a task, so he just completed this task by the way. Now, if he is messed up by this old man again, it will not be worth it. Because they are all recruits, the early training is mainly some basic training. The three-dimensional device cannot be equipped. First, they are not familiar with theoretical knowledge, and second, they have not practiced the three-dimensional device, so at this time they can only learn some basic knowledge and theoretical knowledge first. The instructor talked about a lot of rules on the training ground, and belittled them. The group of recruits who were worse than pigs and dogs are about to doubt their lives. Lin Xuan understands that this is the tradition of the training corps. This way, they will strike at the soldiers' outlook on life and values, let them draw a clear line with their past selves, and then get a new life here, wash and baptize, and then become the most qualified soldiers. After all, the target they will fight in the future is the extremely ferocious giant clan. The killing power of the giants is very huge, and they are extremely cruel. They feed on humans directly. Once they are defeated, they will die. Not only will they die, but they will also become food for the giants. That's why the instructors always scold them as the rations of the giants. If you want to fight the giants, you must overcome great psychological barriers. After all, the bloody scene, the feeling of seeing your companions die in front of you or even being eaten by the giants in front of you, I believe it is a nightmare for everyone. And those who have never seen the giants or have never seen the power of the giants, the survival rate is very low when they go to the battlefield for the first time. The mortality rate of the garrison corps is as high as 90%, and almost 100% of the recruits will die. Even the survey corps has a 50% casualty rate. The survey corps is the most powerful corps. Their soldiers are composed of the most elite soldiers. They are the main elites fighting against the giants. They are experienced and skilled in cooperation. It is so difficult to face the giants, let alone others. Hey, it's finally time to eat. After being trained for most of the day, everyone finally got to lunch time. After lunch, they only had half an hour to rest, and they had to participate in field training in the afternoon. The training corps has many courses, including theoretical courses, combat courses, exploration courses, and field survival courses. The soldiers they train will be assigned to the 3 major corps. Whether it is the survey corps, the garrison corps, or the most noble military police corps, their members are all from the training corps. Therefore, the training corps needs to train each corps. It's really stingy. There's only one potato and one bread. How can you be full with these things? Isn't there some soup over there? Stop complaining. If you're not full, just go and drink more soup. Those soups are just like water. They taste terrible, so whoever wants to drink them can drink them. During lunch, the soldiers began to complain. Although this is a training corps, as trainees, their rations are basically guaranteed. Unlike the refugees outside, they will not starve at least, but they are not formal soldiers yet, so the treatment they can get is just that. The rations can barely maintain the demand, and it is impossible to eat enough. Moreover, most of these foods are preserved using the yeast technology behind the rose wall. They are all foods that are about to mold and expire. They can't be stored anymore, so they are taken out for them to eat. On the one hand, they can remove the inventory, and on the other hand, they can meet their needs. This seems to be a good thing, but in the eyes of the recruits, such treatment is really terrible. To be honest, when he first came here, Lin Xuan was not used to the food here. He was used to eating modern food, and faced with this half-cooked sweet potato, plus this smelly and hard bread, he had no appetite at all at just one look, and he was even less interested in trying it. But people are iron and rice is steel. If you don't eat a meal, you will be hungry. After being hungry for several days, Lin Xuan had to compromise. Although this thing tastes bad, it is edible after all. If you don't eat it, you will feel hungry. And this thing just tastes bad. If you add a little seasoning, it is not inedible. What seasoning did Lin Xuan bring? A 350 ml bottle of Lao Gan Ma. Lao Gan Ma is a good thing. As a condiment, this thing is not only easy to preserve, but also tastes great. More importantly, this thing is not big and heavy, and it is very convenient to carry. After having this thing, when eating bread, dip a little, it tastes fragrant and delicious, and tastes great. System, how much supplies do I have for this month? I still have a bottle of Lao Gan Ma, right? How come it's gone? Did you take my things? Because the supplies in this world are so scarce, in order to ensure the survival of the host, the system will subsidize a part of the supplies every month. Although it is not possible to rely entirely on this part of the supplies to survive, Lin Quan's life has improved a lot with these supplies in the training corps. Moreover, Lin Quan's current rating in the system is only a level 0 recruit. As long as he can complete a few more tasks, gain experience upgrades, and then improve his soldier level, he can get more supplies from the system. And getting more delicious and rich food is also a big reason for Lin Xuan, a foodie, to become stronger. Chapter 3. After taking his food and finding an empty corner to put down his plate, Lin Xuan couldn't wait to open the gift package given by the system. Ding! The system prompts that the host has completed the random training task, and has obtained 10 experience points as a reward, and a novice gift package. A golden light flashed, and Lin Xuan felt refreshed all over his body. He took a look at his level and found that he had upgraded. It feels great. Upgrading is great, and all kinds of abilities have been improved. Now the combat effectiveness seems to have improved a lot. But the most important thing is the gift package given by the system. The system said before that there are quite a few equipment in these gift packages. Although they are all novice equipment, these equipment are still very good for Lin Xuan. Novice equipment is at least better than the equipment of this training corps. After observing for a while, he found that no one noticed this side, so Lin Xuan carefully opened the novice gift package. Then he saw a bunch of equipment. Novice shoes, novice wristbands, novice vests, novice cloaks. Why are there only some clothes and shoes to wear, but no weapons? Lin Xuan was very disappointed. Without weapons, how can he become strong? Equipped with these things, at most, it increases the probability of survival. Without them, it will not be able to survive. Increase his actual combat power. But it is better to have it than not. With this thing, at least he can improve his strength during the training stage. If he passes the training test smoothly, at least he won't suffer so much. So Lin Xuan accepted these things and equipped them according to the guidance of the system. These things are virtual reality equipment. If they are equipped directly on the body, they will not be displayed, so from the appearance, there is no difference from other people. This helped Lin Xuan a lot. With these things, it will be much easier for him to show off. Otherwise, if you wear shiny equipment all over your body to show off, others will know that you are only relying on the equipment and not your strength, and the effect of showing off will be much weaker. After equipping these 4 pieces of equipment, Lin Xuan felt that his attributes in all aspects have improved a lot. After a quick check, he found that his panel attributes are as follows. Strength, 65 points. Stamina, 74 points. Constitution, 70 points. Agility, 72 points. Spirit, 66 points. Among these data, the main things to pay attention to are strength, agility, and physical strength, which are very important in battle. Lin Quan's data are all pretty good, at least above 65 points. Although it is not as good as Mikasa's almost perverted guy at present, Lin Xuan is still much stronger than other students. These values of ordinary people are basically within 40, and those who can exceed 50 can basically be selected into the survey corps. For masters like Levi and Mikasa, the average value is generally more than 75, and some values must be more than 85. Moreover, Lin Xuan has just been promoted from level 0 to level 1, and he is still in the category of a recruit, so the panel data is a little worse. When he completes a few more tasks and raises his level, the panel data will not be so ugly. Thinking of this, he looked at his experience slot. After upgrading, the experience was cleared. Now the experience slot is still empty. Upgrading requires 20 experience points. 20 experience points is almost the experience of 2 novice tasks. It seems that we need to work harder and take more tasks. Armin, there's no one here, let's sit here. Lin Xuan had just shut down the system and exited from it, when he saw Aaron carrying a plate with Mikasa, Armin, and others to the table next to him and sitting down. After the 3 sat down, they found that Lin Xuan was looking at them, so they nodded to Lin Xuan and said hello. Lin Xuan also nodded to them and ignored them. Now was not the time to get close to them, he had to finish his food quickly. He took out his Lao Gan Ma and unscrewed the bottle cap. Suddenly, the pure and rich aroma of Lao Gan Ma instantly filled the entire dining room. Everyone stopped their chopsticks and looked in the direction of the fragrance in surprise, and then saw Lin Xuan coming. After a careful observation, there seemed to be nothing in Lin Quan's plate. There was nothing special about it, except for a bottle of something unknown. Could it be that the fragrance that would whet one's appetite and make one drool, came from this bottle? If we were to ask who among the 104th training soldiers is the most sensitive to food and cares the most about it, then Sasha would definitely be the first. She was the one who dared to eat sweet potatoes in front of the instructor during her first training session at the training ground. Swish! Before everyone could see clearly what was happening, they felt something like a gust of wind flying past them. Lin Xuan reacted quickly and had already grabbed the bottle of Lao Gan Ma before Sasha made a move. And under the bottle in his hand, an empty hand appeared awkwardly. Student Sasha, what are you doing? Lin Xuan asked, smiling at her. Everyone in the dining room looked at Sasha. This guy is so outrageous. It's too bad to grab things in front of everyone. Yes, I heard before that she always steals food from the kitchen. I thought it was a rumor, but now it seems that it may be true. That's right, how can such people still stay in the training corps? They should be sent back to reclaim wasteland like those who were eliminated. Everyone started to blame Sasha, but apart from these people, some others noticed something else. So fast. Mikasa whispered. Alan nodded. Sasha is like this, she can't control herself when she sees food, she's as fast as a wild beast. After saying that, he shook his head and felt more and more incredible about Sasha. He wondered what kind of past she had and why she was so obsessed with food. No, I'm not talking about Sasha, I'm talking about Lin Xuan, he was so fast just now. Mikasa looked at Lin Xuan and said blankly. Chapter 5. Listen carefully, you two-legged beasts, you are a waste of food, you will go through a hellish training here to prove that you are qualified to live and have the right to survive. After the afternoon training began, the instructor's attitude became extremely bad again. Every word he said to describe the trainees was so unbearable to the ear, and every sentence and every word aroused the anger and fighting spirit of the recruits present, and this is the effect he wanted. They were training soldiers who could fight against giants. Originally, because of the protection of the 3 walls, they lived very peacefully in their fortress, but because the Maria Wall was destroyed by the colossal titan 2 years ago, their peaceful life is gone forever. In just 2 years, they lost 1/3 of their land, 1/5 of their population, and their living space outside the Rose Wall. This huge blow is unprecedented for the entire human race. Therefore, the training corps had to change their usual style of the past, and began to change from slow training to cruel and strict training. Training, they understand that if they do not strictly require soldiers to meet the standards on the training ground, then they will only become giants' rations on the battlefield. Use various means to temper them and torture them on the training ground. Even if they are eliminated, it is at least better than training them carelessly and then pushing them to the battlefield to die. Therefore, after the fall of Wall Maria 2 years ago, the attitude of the training corps became unprecedentedly strict. The number of students enrolled in the training corps increased a lot because there were more refugees outside, but their elimination rate was also unprecedentedly high. Among the 104 students in Lin Quan's period, there were more than 300 people who came at the beginning. In less than half a month, 20% of them have been eliminated, leaving only more than 200 people. And this is not the most cruel training. The next training will only be more cruel, and more people will be eliminated. All members are ready to start a 15-kilometer jungle march. Listen carefully, our goal is the camp below the distant mountains. We only have 3 hours. If we cannot reach the camp after 3 hours, you will know the consequences. 3 hours is a very short time for a 15-kilometer armed march. This is a mountain road, which is bumpy and rugged. In addition, they have to carry various equipment, including camping equipment, weapons and equipment, their own food and other things. The general load will be around 20 kilograms. The recruits are generally not very old. For example, Aaron and Mikasa Armin are only 12 years old. Others like Reiner and Bertolt are only a little older. Therefore, this march is not a small challenge for them. After the instructor's order was issued, there was an uproar among the recruits. Obviously, it is too challenging for them to complete such a long maneuver in such a short time. Connie, you come from the countryside, don't you? Are you worried about this kind of mountain road? I have been hunting in the mountains with my father since I was a child, so this kind of thing is just a piece of cake for me. Sasha looked confident and didn't take this mission seriously at all. Tisk, I'm not worried. I said I would become a military policeman and return to the village. How could there be any problem with this kind of thing? Connie looked full of fighting spirit. He was a man with ideals and ambitions, so he would not give up so easily. Armin, you have always been physically weak, is it okay to go this far? Why don't you give me some of your stuff and I'll carry it for you? Alan seemed a little worried about Armin's situation. He and Armin have been good friends since childhood and he knows this friend's situation very well. Armin's physical fitness is not very good. Although his mind is flexible, his physical exercise can't keep up with him, and he is not even as good as ordinary people. This armed cross-country race is a big challenge for Alan, and it will be even more difficult for Armin. It's okay, Aaron, believe me, I can do it. Armin obviously didn't want to admit defeat. He looked very persistent at this time and had no intention of giving up. Although Aaron was still a little worried, he couldn't continue to insist when he saw him like this, so he had to say then try to keep up with us later. If there is any problem, we can act accordingly. Armin nodded. Lin Xuan was right next to them. When he heard these conversations, he didn't care. Armin must be the last one, but the second to last one was Reiner. This guy helped Armin halfway through, giving people the impression that he was a very reliable partner, but Lin Xuan knew his true identity, the armored titan. You bunch of idiots, even a stupid pig is faster than you, get ready, let's go. The instructor rode past them on horseback and shouted the order to go. Lin Xuan put his backpack on his shoulder and began to move forward with the large army leisurely. It must be said that the feeling brought by the improvement of physical fitness after the upgrade is still very good. He now feels more energetic, more agile, and even his observation ability has improved a lot. That's not all. Although the 4 pieces of novice equipment he is equipped with don't look very good, they are still quite effective. They are relatively light, do not increase weight, and can also provide good feedback. For example, the pair of novice shoes can improve Lin Quan's jumping ability a lot, and can also reduce shock and increase friction, which is very helpful for sports on the mountain. Therefore, Lin Quan's march still feels very easy. The team of more than 200 people was quite compact at the beginning, but soon because everyone in the team had different physiques, the team began to become much longer, and some people have begun to fall behind. None of them were at the end of the team, so he didn't know who had fallen behind, and now he had only one thought in his mind, which was to get the first place this time. Because, the system guy just issued a new task. Chapter 6. Ding! The system prompts that field training for new recruits is one of the 3 major training programs and is a course that all new recruits must master. Only those who perform best in field training can become the strongest soldiers. Mission requirements: get first place in this armed cross-country race. Mission reward: you can get 10 experience points and a designated novice equipment by completing the mission. Lin Xuan was still thinking about how to complete some missions as quickly as possible so as to upgrade earlier, but the mission from the system was delivered to him. Although 10 experience points are not enough for him to upgrade, the experience rewards of novice missions are not much, and 10 points is very good. If there is another mission, it will be enough for him to upgrade to level 2. What's more, this mission also gives a novice equipment, which is naturally more attractive to Lin Xuan. He now has 4 pieces of equipment. If these 4 pieces of equipment are used, they are barely enough, but if he can get more equipment, it will be even better. For example, the novice gloves she had set her eyes on before. This novice glove can increase the user's strength points, so that when he uses weapons, the power will be greatly enhanced. When fighting against giants, chopping their back neck is the key to killing them. If you can't attack here accurately, it will be difficult to knock down the giant. And in the simulation training of giants, there is an assessment indicator, which is the depth of the chop. In this regard, Mikasa did the best. She chopped the deepest and most accurately, so she was rated A+. But A and is not the highest score, there is S above A+. Lin Xuan can achieve the same level as Mikasa with his own strength, but if he wants to surpass Mikasa, he needs the help of some other props. So, after receiving the task from the system at this time, Lin Xuan was no longer calm. He increased his speed in minutes and sprinted to the front from the middle of the team. Sasha! I can't do it anymore. I can't run anymore. There are 2 baked sweet potatoes in my backpack. If you help me carry my backpack, then, those 2 baked sweet potatoes will be yours. Connie and Sasha were in the middle of the team. At this time, Connie was already out of breath. He felt that his backpack was too heavy. Seeing that Sasha looked fine, he had to ask her for help and planned to bribe her with food. Tisk, didn't you say it was okay before? Why do you need help now? Sasha belittled him at first, but she took his backpack honestly. The temptation of 2 sweet potatoes was something she couldn't refuse anyway. Swish! A black shadow rushed past them like the wind. Sasha, did you see anything just now? Connie was stunned for a moment, raised his head and looked forward, only to see a blurry back moving away from them quickly. See, your stinky socks are stuffed in your backpack. You put your socks together with your food. That's too much. Connie! I must be the first this time. I must not let that guy look down on me. Humph, you big talker, I will never lose to you. Jan has always been thinking about defeating Alan, so from the beginning, he kept accelerating, wanting to surpass Alan. After surpassing Alan, he did not stop, because he felt that he might get the first place, so at this time, the speed did not slow down, and he still maintained this fast speed, determined to get the first place. Jan knew very well that the military police would only select 10 people every year, and only the top 10 students would have the opportunity to enter the military police. Therefore, his performance in the training corps must be good enough. He cannot perform worse than anyone else. He must stand out from more than 200 people to stay away from the giants and go to the safer inland military police. Compared with the Survey Corps and even the Garrison Corps, the treatment of the Military Police Corps is much better, and most of them are on duty in the non-combat area within the third city wall, so it is very safe. Jan entered the training corps at the beginning because he wanted to go to the Military Police Corps. At this time, he seemed to see hope. He felt that if he got the first place this time, he might be able to improve his ranking and get closer to the Military Police Corps. New recruit Jean Kirschstein has good mobility. Although he can be a little clever, he is generally slow-witted and has outstanding physical strength. The instructor who was riding a horse leisurely was walking and observing the performance of each student. He has discovered some good seedlings during this period of time, so he has basically focused on these good seedlings during this period of time. For example, Mikasa Ackerman, Aaron, Ani, Reiner and so on. But today he discovered another person, that is Lin Xuan. He doesn't know this guy very well, but what this guy does is often unexpected. Swish! Just when he finished writing Jean's record report, a whirlwind rushed past and overtook him abruptly. Who is so fast? The students around were all amazed. Now they have run almost half the distance. At this time, everyone basically has no strength left. Not to mention speeding up, even maintaining their current speed is a very difficult thing. So they can't imagine which perverted guy can run so fast at this time. So everyone looked up, and after seeing the back of this person, they all sighed. It turned out to be him. If it's him, then there's nothing we can do. That's right, his speed and endurance can't be measured by normal human standards at all. Instructor Keith looked up and saw only a back figure, but he recognized this back figure. It's him. Lin Chuan. In an instant, he understood why the students had such an exclamation. Lin Chuan ran 150 laps on the training ground like nothing happened, his face was not red and he was not out of breath. Only he could maintain such a speed at this time. Chapter 7. New recruit Lin Chuan has outstanding physical strength and endurance, is full of explosive power, has a rather eccentric personality, and has an and growth potential. His subsequent progress needs to be observed. The instructor originally wanted to give Lin Chuan a higher evaluation, but he doesn't know Lin Chuan very well now, so he is conservative for the time being and gave a more conservative evaluation. He plans to give a new evaluation after seeing Lin Chuan's subsequent performance. But Lin Chuan didn't know this at the time. He had already surpassed a huge number of people. There were only 2 or 3 people in front of him. 1 Mikasa, 1 Ani, and 1 Rang. It was strange that Mikasa was not with Alan. Lin Chuan just noticed that Alan seemed to be still in the middle of the team, while Mikasa ran to the front of the team. The distance between the two sides was quite far. Forget it, don't think too much. There are less than 5 kilometers to go. Lin Chuan must hurry up to surpass them. So he rushed up at a high speed and soon surpassed Ani. When he surpassed Ani, Lin Chuan turned his head and smiled at Ani, but Ani glared at him and ignored him. Haha! This guy can actually glare at people. Lin Chuan was very surprised, because Ani was the kind of person who was ruthless and didn't talk much. When she transformed into a female titan and went to chase Alan, she was calm and cruel. She caused great damage to the Survey Corps along the way, causing the Survey Corps to lose nearly half of its troops, and then injured the captain's foot. This can prove her strength and her calm personality. This guy is a very scary person. If possible, Lin Chuan doesn't want to provoke her. After surpassing Ani, the one in front was not far away, and soon, Lin Chuan surpassed him. Damn, how come this guy is so fast? Rang was very unwilling. He was clearly in first place, but he suddenly became second. Mikasa Ackerman suddenly rushed out from nowhere, which made him feel that his first place was no longer secure. At this time, just when he was trying his best to catch up with Mikasa, Lin Chuan rushed up and passed him. Moreover, this guy's speed was too fast. The moment he passed him, Ran had already lost hope of catching up with him. Haha, Mikasa actually ran so fast. Ida Euro trademark S not good for a girl to run so fast and let others admire her running posture from behind. Girls have several prominent parts due to their physical characteristics, a certain part in the front and a certain part in the back. Although Mikasa is only 12 years old now and has not grown up yet, she is still just a child, but her development is not bad. From the front, she has taken shape, and from the back, she is also very stylish. So after Lin Chuan caught up with her, he slowed down his speed, just keeping the same level with her, and then observed her posture closely while chatting with her. Hi, Miss Mikasa, you are running. What a coincidence. Mikasa rolled her eyes at him, thinking, is this guy a fool? This is not running, this is clearly training, what a coincidence. The instructor asked everyone to run together, isn't it normal to meet? What's the coincidence? I noticed that Armin seemed to have fallen behind, and Aaron was following behind him. Why aren't you with Aaron? Seeing Mikasa's disdainful eyes, Lin Chuan didn't care. He just looked at her casually and chatted with her casually. He had no intention of flirting with Mikasa. With Mikasa's persistence in Alan, it would be almost impossible for others to snatch her away from Alan. Because this girl had already determined that Alan was her family several years ago. She had both family affection and love for Alan, but more of a dependence on her family. So Lin Chuan was not moved by Mikasa. He was not an animal whose lower body dominated the upper body. Besides, there were many good girls in this round of recruits. For example, Krista, this guy was so golden that he looked like an angel. In addition to Krista, there were also Sasha and others, which were not bad. Of course, these are all children now, and Lin Chuan's strength is not very strong. For the time being, he still focuses on cultivation. When he goes out in the future, he will definitely meet more choices, such as Petra Paja. He is determined to save Paja, so his strength must be improved as soon as possible. Armin is under Aaron's care, he will be fine. Mikasa's face darkened. Although she didn't say it, she must be worried about Aaron in her heart, because Aaron has always been the type of person who loves to get into trouble, but his strength is not enough. Therefore, if she is not there, Aaron may encounter some problems. Really? That's good. Lin Xuan smiled friendly, and seeing Mikasa's focused expression, he held his chin and thought for a while, and then suddenly understood. Mikasa, you are trying so hard, are you trying to get Aaron to join the military police? Mikasa was shocked, as if she had not expected that someone could see through her mind, and then looked at Lin Xuan in disbelief. Although she did not ask, the question in her eyes was already obvious. You ask me why I know? Well, that's a good question. Lin Xuan smiled and said, because Alan seems to hate the giants very much and wants to join the Survey Corps, and the mortality rate of the Survey Corps is very high, so if he really joins the Survey Corps, I'm afraid he will die before he has conquered many giants, and the military police is much safer than the Survey Corps, so if he joins the military police, at least his life safety can be guaranteed, am I right? Lin Xuan felt that his guess was very accurate. Mikasa definitely didn't want Alan to join the Survey Corps, because in that case he would only put himself in danger, and fighting with the giants was not like meeting those gangsters on the street. Even Mikasa might not be able to protect him, so Mikasa must be very worried. Chapter 8. Haha, you don't have to look at me like that. The reason I could guess it is mainly because your worry is written on your face. It's too easy to guess, isn't it? Mikasa lowered her head. Did she really show that much worry? But I think your strategy may not work. I understand your idea. You want to work hard to perform better, and then get into the top 10, so that Aaron can get into the top 10 with you, and then let him choose the military police. Only the top 10 students can choose the military police. Mikasa didn't nod or shake her head. It seemed that she was guessed. However, Aaron is so determined in his own ideas and his will to kill all the titans. How can you guarantee that he will choose the military police like you? Lin Xuan smiled. Even if the accidents that followed did not happen, Aaron would still choose the Survey Corps directly. He has always wanted to be a member of the Survey Corps. This is a dream for him. Moreover, Aaron is a human who has become a titan. He is the key to the entire human race's victory over the titans. Therefore, he will eventually become a member of the Survey Corps, whether he likes it or not. Mikasa was silent. She had also thought about what Lin Xuan said. It seemed that she really had no way to change Aaron's decision. But there is more than one solution to everything. Since you can't change his decision, why not think about it from another angle and think about the problem in another way? Lin Xuan smiled and said to Mikasa. Mikasa looked at him puzzled, not knowing what he meant. Thinking from another angle, what should be done? Since you can't change his decision, you can only improve your own strength, or find some very powerful and reliable people to protect him. Lin Xuan smiled and looked at Mikasa. She herself is very strong. To protect Alan, it is enough for now, but in the long run, it is still a little insufficient. The power of the giants is too strong, and there are many of them. Some of the current means of human beings are still difficult to deal with them. Whether it is the half-blade blade they use or other firearms, they are not so easy to use when dealing with giants. The gas storage of the three-dimensional maneuvering device is limited, and it is actually impossible to support long-term combat. Once the gas is exhausted, the mobility of humans will be greatly reduced, and the height of the giants is much higher than that of ordinary humans, so they can't attack the giants without the three-dimensional maneuvering device. Therefore, no matter how strong Mikasa is, she can't play her strength 100% in the face of various unfavorable factors, and she can't protect Alan well. Do you mean to say that I need your help? Mikasa was very smart and immediately understood the hidden meaning of Lin Xuan's words. Haha, that's right, I'm very strong, how about you form an alliance with me, please consider it. Lin Xuan looked at Mikasa with a smile. The alliance would not cause any loss to her, and for Lin Xuan, it would not cause any loss either, and he could also gain 3 friends, which would be very helpful for his 3 years of training life. We can form an alliance, but you have to prove your strength. Mikasa nodded, but put forward her own conditions. It seems that she is still not very confident in Lin Quan's strength. Alright, let's use this competition as a start and see who reaches the finish line first. Lin Quan smiled slightly, and instantly increased his speed, immediately pulling away from Mikasa. Then he turned around and smiled at Mikasa, and walked away. Mikasa bit her teeth lightly, and was also secretly competing. She also began to work hard to increase her speed. This guy thought that he was someone he could defeat so easily, but he was wrong. What's wrong with the two guys in front? They are running so fast, and they can still speed up. Are they still human? Rang was very surprised. He just thought that the first place was in his pocket, but now he saw Lin Quan and Mikasa walking away, and he couldn't even compare to them. He was naturally frustrated. Behind him, Ani also saw the speed of Lin Quan and Mikasa. Although she always looked down on those who only had brute force, she was also surprised to see these two guys still have such explosive power at the end of the race. I only knew that Mikasa was very strong before, but I didn't regard her as a threat. After all, there are many strong people, but none of them are her opponents. If she wanted to, she could turn into a female giant and kill a large number of such strong men in an instant. But Lin Quan, who appeared at this time, aroused her vigilance. This guy is too mysterious. It is completely unclear where he came from and what his plans are. This guy's strength looks more terrifying than he shows. Ani can clearly feel that he is holding back. Without knowing the opponent's upper limit, Ani can only put a big question mark about Lin Quan in her heart. She even has a hunch that this guy may become a huge stumbling block to her actions in the future. These two guys are running so fast that I can hardly catch up with them on horseback. The instructor waved the whip in his hand desperately, trying to catch up with Lin Quan and Mikasa, who were in the front. He has taught so many classes of students, but he has never encountered such a situation. There are people who run so fast the whole way, even faster than horses. These guys don't look like humans at all, they are no different from beasts. This discovery not only did not make him unhappy, but also made him very excited. Instructor Keith felt that he had found a treasure this time. He had a hunch that among his 104th batch of students, there would definitely be some extraordinary guys. When these guys became famous and killed people everywhere, he could proudly brag to others that these were the students he brought up. Chapter 9. Mikasa, the front is the key point. If your speed is only this level, then I will take the first place. Lin Quan looked back at Mikasa. Mikasa was still far away from him. After running for a long time, even someone as strong as Mikasa was exhausted. She no longer had the extra energy to continue to accelerate or even maintain her current speed. If it weren't for her outstanding willpower, she would have given up at this time. But even so, after hearing Lin Quan's words, Mikasa still burst out with huge energy and instantly increased her speed. It seemed that she really wanted to surpass Lin Quan. Lin Quan smiled slightly. Mikasa was still so unwilling to admit defeat. But this time, he was determined to win the first place. So, at the moment when Mikasa increased her speed, Lin Quan also increased his speed to the highest, and then rushed across the finish line. Ding! The system prompts, the host has completed the novice training task and is rewarded with 10 experience points. Please choose one item from the list as a reward. The system prompt sounded instantly. Lin Quan was very excited and entered the system instantly. He took a look at the experience bar and found that he already had 10 experience points. But this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that there were 5 things in front of him waiting for him to choose. I choose the novice gloves. This thing is very helpful for the next training, so Lin Quan chose it. A white light flashed, and Lin Quan's hands were covered with a layer of dark grey gloves. The gloves felt warm, soft, and very comfortable on his hands. And most importantly, this thing also gave Lin Quan a lot of strength. He felt that his hand strength was much better than before. Mikasa ran across the finish line panting, looking at Lin Quan unwillingly. It was really unacceptable to lose to this guy. But it is undeniable that this guy's strength is indeed very strong. Even stronger than her, and Mikasa, who had been unable to find a target and reference system before, had quietly set Lin Quan as her goal at this time. She has begun to prepare to work hard to make herself stronger, so as to surpass Lin Quan. One after another, the trainees had basically arrived. The instructor took a look, nodded, and went into the camp to rest. Armin was finally able to reach the end with the company of Aaron and Reiner, but he did not rely too much on the help of others in the process. Armin, well done, you finally defeated yourself. Aaron seemed very excited and was very happy about Armin's growth. Alan, thank you. Armin himself couldn't believe that he had actually done it. Although he was so tired that he didn't want to move at all, his heart was still very excited. Reiner returned to his seat silently. Bertolt looked at him, then at Armin, feeling a little worried. Lin Xuan turned a blind eye to all this. Armin was not the material for charging into battle. He was suitable for making plans and being the brain of the team to formulate the most scientific combat plans and action plans for everyone, instead of charging in front and being a soldier like an ordinary person. That would be a waste for him. Lin Xuan came to Krista with his plate and said to her, "Little angel, is there anyone else here? If there is no one, do you mind if I sit here?" After saying that, he sat down directly without waiting for her answer. Krista was stunned for a moment. She and Lin Xuan were not very familiar with each other. Although they were students for the same semester, they had hardly spoken to each other. The other party was a new student with outstanding performance and had now received the attention of the instructors. She was just an ordinary student with no advantages. Why did he come to her and talk to her? "Ah, no, no one." Krista said hurriedly. Lin Xuan nodded, he had already sat down. "Is the bread delicious?" Lin Xuan pointed to the piece of black bread on her plate. This camp hadn't had any supplies changed for a long time. The food here was even worse than that at the training base. After eating a little, Lin Xuan lost interest in the food here. Even if he was starving, he didn't want to eat this thing. He felt that he would get sick after eating it. It's okay. Do you want to eat it?" The little angel glanced at Lin Xuan, picked up his bread, and handed it to Lin Xuan. "Here, I give it to you. I can't eat that much. You boys have a bigger appetite, so I'll give this to you." Lin Xuan was stunned for a moment. This guy really was like an angel. When she handed over her bread, Lin Xuan felt a golden light projected from her body, making her look golden and particularly bright. And this strange imagination surprised Lin Xuan greatly. It felt that the image of this guy in his heart became a lot more holy in an instant. It seems that the nickname of Little Angel is not for nothing. "No, I'm just afraid that you can't get used to these things, so I prepared some other food for you." Lin Xuan took her bread and put it aside, then prepared the fresh bread, butter and sauce he had prepared, and handed it to her after dipping it. "What is this?" When Krista saw Lin Xuan handing over these fresh, hot and fragrant breads, she couldn't help but feel the saliva in her mouth secreting desperately. "This is the bread I prepared specially for you. You must be hungry after finishing the training. Eat it quickly, take a shower and go to bed early. There will definitely be more brutal training tomorrow." Lin Xuan smiled and said to her. "Ah." At that moment, Krista seemed to feel the pure white light all over Lin's body. Could this person be her Prince Charming? Chapter 10. "Hey, Lin Xuan, stay away from my Krista. Don't let me see you approach her again." Ymir just went to make soup for Krista, preparing for Krista to replenish her nutrition, but when she came back, she saw that her seat had been occupied by someone, and this guy seemed to be trying to get close to Krista, which made her very angry. Krista is her, Ymir's, angel, and she will never allow anyone else to approach her. "You're Krista? You are a woman, are you sure you are not mistaken?" Lin Xuan looked at her playfully, his eyes full of smiles. Krista's face instantly turned red, and she waved her hands quickly, trying to explain that this was not the case. She seemed to be afraid that Lin Xuan would misunderstand the relationship between her and Ymir. "Humph, what's wrong with being a woman? Can't women be together?" Ymir came to the training corps to become a new soldier just for Krista. Her purpose was to protect Krista, so she would never allow others easily approached Krista's. "Really? That's a coincidence." Lin Xuan stood up and said with a smile, "I also like Krista and want her to be my woman. Since you have the same idea, let's solve it with force." The fight between the two has attracted the attention of almost everyone in the cafeteria. At this time, everyone heard Lin Quan's words and knew that he had invited Ymir to a duel, so they all gathered around curiously, wanting to see who is more powerful between the two of them. "As you wish, don't blame me for beating you to the ground." Ymir is still very confident in her own strength, so she is not afraid of fighting with the opponent at this time. And this is for the safety of Krista, so she absolutely cannot fail. You guys don't fight, just be nice, can't we just be friends?" Krista almost cried, she didn't want to see someone get hurt for her, someone fight for her. Don't worry, little angel, I will be back soon, just wait for me. Lin Xuan smiled slightly, and took the lead in leaving the cafeteria and came to the open space outside. Ymir didn't say much and followed him out. Everyone ran out and watched. Obviously, they were all very curious about such a battle. These guys are really hopeless. They just finished training and they came out to cause trouble without even eating. On the second floor, the instructors frowned after seeing this scene. They originally planned to go down to take a look, but after hesitating for a while, they finally did not go out. If they want to make trouble, let them make trouble. As long as no one is killed and no major damage is caused, it will generally be fine. They can just watch from above. If the situation changes, it will not be too late to stop it. Alan, what should we do? Should we organize them? Armin looked at the two people outside with some worry. Although this incident happened right under their noses, they were still a little confused in their hearts. They didn't know why these guys would fight for no reason. No, they are all very strong, especially Lin Xuan. Not only is his strength hard to see through, but his personality is also very strange. The same is true for Ymir. Let's just wait and see what happens. Alan shook his head. There is no benefit in intervening in the affairs of these two people, because both of them are very strong. If they insist on a duel, no one else can stop them. Mikasa didn't say anything, but her eyes were always fixed on Lin Xuan. She really wanted to know how strong this guy was. Was he really much stronger than herself, or was he just about the same as herself? What's wrong? Don't you want to make a move? If you don't make a move, you can't beat me. Lin Xuan stood there casually and hooked his finger at Ymir, signaling her to come over and attack. Ymir is very tall and has a good physical fitness. With the help of the power of the giant, her combat power is slightly higher than that of ordinary people. However, in front of Lin Xuan, Ymir is not good enough. With his current strength, there are only two people who will make him feel difficult in a fight, one is Mikasa, and the other is Ani. Before Lin Xuan further improves his strength, it may not be easy to easily defeat these two opponents. However, Ymir is not within the scope of these two people. It is still very simple for Lin Xuan to defeat her. You asked for this. If you lose, then leave Krista and stop bothering her. Ymir roared and rushed towards Lin Xuan. She was very fast and had plenty of energy. She didn't look like someone who had just completed a 15-kilometer armed cross-country training. Lin Xuan nodded slightly. She was indeed quite strong, a little stronger than he had imagined. However, if that was the case, it would obviously not be enough. After seeing the opponent's moves and intentions clearly, Lin Xuan moved. He reacted in an instant. He stepped back half a step with his left foot, slightly tilted his body, and gently stretched out his left hand to grab Ymir's fist. Then he pulled forward and stretched out his right foot at the same time. He exerted a little force on the opponent's leg and kicked back. The force from front and back acted on Ymir's body, and Ymir's center of gravity was instantly destroyed by him. Then with a plop, Ymir fell to the ground. Lin Xuan smiled slightly, patted his body lightly with his hands, then stepped aside, looked at her, and asked, "How about it, do you want to fight again?" Everyone only saw Ymir rushing over aggressively, and Lin Xuan didn't seem to make too many moves before he was knocked down by the other party. The process was so fast that everyone had no time to react. Amazing! This guy is really amazing! Mark couldn't help but applaud. Jean gritted his teeth. Although he didn't want to admit it, he had to say that Lin Quan's performance was far beyond his expectations. Chapter 11. It doesn't count, come again, this doesn't count. Although Ymir fell heavily, she didn't admit in her heart that Lin Xuan was stronger than her. She just thought that it was just a trick played by Lin Xuan, and she was not fully prepared, so she was fooled. This time, as long as she was seriously prepared, there would be basically no problem. Oh? Still not giving up? Then keep going. Lin Xuan was originally ready to go back. After all, they were classmates. It would not be good to beat the other party too badly. He could see from the previous move that Ymir had good strength, but lacked skills and was not vigilant enough, similar to Alan. When facing experienced veterans, they would suffer. It's your turn to attack this time. If you can hit me, I lose. Ymir thought about it and didn't take the initiative to attack Lin Xuan. She didn't know why she couldn't stand steadily after being tripped and fallen by Lin Xuan just now. so it would be unwise to attack blindly before finding a countermeasure. Oh? Have you found the key to the problem? Lin Xuan smiled. He had figured out the other party's purpose. But if the other party thought he could only defend, then he was totally wrong. Lin Xuan moved, so fast that it made people's scalps numb. It seemed that even the eyes could not keep up with his speed. So fast! Mikasa and Ani exclaimed in their hearts at the same time. Mikasa is good at speed and strength, while Ani is good at skills. Lin Quan's performance in strength, speed, and skills is very outstanding, which made them feel a huge shock. This guy's ability seems to be very comprehensive and very difficult to deal with. After Lin Quan's speed increased, Ymir only saw a residual image in front of her. She couldn't see Lin Quan's real movements at all, and she was knocked to the ground by Lin Xuan again. And this time, Mikasa and Ani saw his movements clearly. He was very fast and rushed behind Ymir. He just lightly hit the back of Ymir's knee, and Ymir's body couldn't support it and knelt forward. Well, it took longer than I thought. I wonder if the food will be cold when we get back. Lin Xuan reached out and pulled Ymir up, then stretched his body, pushed aside the stunned crowd, and walked towards the cafeteria. Behind him, a group of onlookers were still in shock and could not recover. This guy, is he really that scary? Reiner, Bertolt, and the others were sweating. Lin Xuan was only 12 years old, but he was already so strong. If he was allowed to train here for 3 years and mastered all kinds of combat skills, wouldn't he be even stronger? The two looked at each other and lost confidence. It seemed that the task assigned to them before they left would not be completed in a short time, especially with such a huge obstacle like Lin Xuan. Oh my god, big sister, you are too fast, you ate it all. Lin Xuan rubbed his forehead, speechless. When he was dueling with Ymir outside just now, Sasha didn't go out. She saw many people leaving food on the table, and was attracted by the food. Before everyone came to their senses, she quickly finished most of the bread. Lin Quan's bread was not spared, and it had been eaten by Sasha at this time. But fortunately, Krista's was still there. These breads of hers were obviously not provided by this camp, but Lin Xuan exchanged them from the system himself. He couldn't bear to eat them, so he took them all out to pick up girls. If Sasha ate them, it would be a tragedy. Yeah, I heard you say that the bread is not tasty, so I helped you solve it. Sasha said as if it was a matter of course, not feeling that she had done anything wrong. Seeing her like this, Lin Xuan really didn't know how to criticize her. After thinking for a long time, he felt that he couldn't criticize her anymore, so he could only give up. Brother Lin Xuan, I still have some bread here, why don't you take it and eat it? Krista was comforting the injured Ymir at this time. Seeing that Lin Quan's plate was empty, she took out the bread that Lin Xuan had given her before. Lin Xuan waved his hand, forget it, I won't eat it anymore, you guys eat slowly. After that, he stood up and left. It was just a piece of bread. At worst, he could go to the system to exchange it. It was not a big deal. But after training today, he was a little tired. He ran more than 30,000 meters in the morning and 15,000 meters in the afternoon. It was an armed cross-country race. Even Lin Quan's physique was a little bit overwhelmed. He returned to his dormitory, took a quick shower, and then took some dried fish from the system, and then prepared to start practicing. The system has a set of meditation practice methods. If you use this method to practice, you can absorb the essence of heaven and earth from the world to help yourself repair the damage to your body. If you practice at a high level, you don't even need to eat and rest. You can directly use the practice method to satisfy the body's needs. The need for energy. This is a very useful ability. After all, in the battle with the giants, many times they are killed by the giants because they are exhausted. Human power is limited, and the giants are not only powerful, but also can quickly repair their bodies. They are obviously more powerful. If you want to defeat them, you need to make yourself stronger. With a creak, the door opened, and Armin walked in with a towel on his body. He slept opposite Lin Xuan, and Alan was on the lower bunk of Armin. Armin saw Lin Xuan meditating, opened his mouth, as if he wanted to talk to him, but swallowed it when he reached his mouth. I don't know why, it seems that he is a little afraid of Lin Xuan. After all, Lin Xuan behaves very mysteriously and his strength is very strong. Chapter 12. Well, my name is Armin, please give me your guidance in the future. But after hesitating for a while, seeing Lin Xuan stopped and looked at him, Armin's face turned red, and he could only bite the bullet and say hello to Lin Xuan. Lin Xuan smiled slightly and waved to him. My name is Lin Xuan, I will be your comrade after graduation. Lin Xuan's smile instantly let Armin down his guard. This guy's smile looked harmless, and he didn't look like a bad guy at all. Okay, no problem, we will help each other in the future. Armin saw Lin Xuan reaching out his hand and immediately shook hands with him. If you make one more friend like this, you will have more guarantees in the future, which is a very beneficial thing. Although Armin doesn't know Lin Xuan very well, they still need to stay together for 3 years. During these 3 years, they have plenty of opportunities to slowly deepen their understanding. In short, let's take the first step first. Well, yes, the strength of this new student is indeed beyond our expectations. He is outstanding among this batch of students in terms of consciousness, fighting ability, physical strength, speed, physical fitness, etc. He is even stronger than any of the many students we have taught before. If he is trained, he may become like Levi or even surpass Levi. Haha, is that so? That would be the best. In that case, we should conduct 3-dimensional maneuver training in advance. I want to carry out the special training plan as early as possible. Do you understand? The officer in the green cloak picked up the coffee cup, took a sip of coffee, and instructed his subordinates. Yes, we understand. Lin Xuan didn't know that because of his outstanding performance, the 3-dimensional mobile training plan of the entire 104th Training Corps was advanced by a full half a year. As soon as this news was announced, there were naturally several different reactions among the trainees. Some people were very happy, thinking that they could conduct 3-dimensional mobile training in advance so that they could leave this hell earlier. In their opinion, this training corps was just like hell. Among them, many people were determined to join the military police to change their destiny. Among the 3 walls, Maria was located on the outside, Rose Wall was in the middle, and the innermost it is the Sina Wall, and those behind the Sina Wall are basically nobles and relatives of the king. If civilians want to get in, they can only become a member of the gendarmerie, which is also the only way for civilians to complete promotion. However, if you want to join the gendarmerie, it is not that simple. The number of places in the gendarmerie is limited. Their total number is less than 5,000. With special relationships, a large number of people join the gendarmerie every year, and the remaining places are reserved for these recruits. If you want to join the gendarmerie, you must be in the top 10 of the current training corps. This requirement is not so easy to meet. This thing looks quite sophisticated, but a little heavy. Lin Xuan had been very interested in the 3-dimensional maneuvering device in this world before. Now, after learning the theoretical knowledge of this thing, they finally put it on. And it is different from what you see on TV. This thing looks very cool on TV, and it seems very cool to wear it, but after wearing it himself, Lin Xuan felt that this thing was not as fun as before. First of all, if you want to achieve 3-dimensional maneuverability, you must learn all the theoretical knowledge well. This is a very boring thing, because it involves many subjects, including mathematics, physics, etc. The 3-dimensional maneuvering device is not omnipotent. It can play a big role in cities or places with dense buildings, but if it is used in an open area, the effect of this thing will be greatly reduced. For example, if the Survey Corps encounters an attack by a giant in the wild, they need to take a huge risk to kill the opponent directly, because the 3-dimensional mobile device in the wild cannot be easily activated unless the giant is used as a fulcrum. In that case, if you are not careful and fail to operate it well, you will be caught by the giant and die. The main reason why the Survey Corps has a high loss rate is that the wild is too dangerous and it is not conducive to their operations. The mortality rate of the new recruits in the Survey Corps exceeds 50%. The main reason is that these new recruits will appear to be more inexperienced when facing such a situation for the first time, and it will be more difficult for them to survive. Listen carefully, the training you are going to do now is balance training. Only after you have mastered this step can you proceed to the next stage of adaptive training and combat training. Everyone who cannot pass the balance training will be eliminated. At that time, people from the garrison corps will come to pick you up and participate in the reclamation. That may be a good thing for you. At least after you go out, you don't have to fight the giants with weapons. So, if you want to give up, this time is your last chance. The instructor looked at each of them very seriously. Although he did not curse at anyone this time, his momentum and tone made everyone understand what he meant. But those who have come this far will naturally not retreat so easily. Leaving the training corps to participate in reclamation, what a joke. How is that possible? It sounds nice to say that you are going to participate in reclamation, but in fact you are just going to be a refugee. Not only is your personal safety not guaranteed, but even the most basic needs of food and drink cannot be guaranteed. Although their training here is very hard, at least their own safety can be guaranteed, and they don't have to worry about food and drink. The most important thing is that they still have hope and dignity here. If they perform well, they may be able to join the gendarmerie. Even if they don't perform well, as long as they graduate successfully, they can still join the garrison corps. That is much better than going out as a refugee. Chapter 13. Good, no one gave up, very good. I am proud of your choice. In this case, everyone must cheer up and practice hard for me. The balance training of the three-dimensional maneuvering exercise has begun. This is a huge balance frame. The height of the person is raised by the winch, and then the person relies entirely on his own balance to control the balance of the body. If the balance cannot be achieved, then he will be eliminated. The actual use of three-dimensional maneuvers is hundreds of times more complicated than this simple balance training. If you can't even master your own balance, naturally there is no way to use more complex three-dimensional maneuvers. At the critical moment of fighting with the giant, every soldier needs to fight while adjusting his body balance and posture as soon as possible to make the next offensive action or avoid the giant's counterattack. And this behavior is completed in high-speed movement, which is much more difficult than this simple training. And the basis of all this is this simple balance training, which allows soldiers to overcome their fears and find ways to balance and relax their bodies. Only in this way can they continue to the next stage of training. Balance is just Lin Xuan is very good at it. So although he is not familiar with this so-called three-dimensional maneuvering equipment, he was not very satisfied with the placement, but after putting it on, he could still do parallelism very easily. But the feeling of being hung in the air really made him very uncomfortable. This thing used several straps to fix his body, and it was very painful. If he could fly in the air like the ancient flying eaves and walls, that would be great. In that case, he would not need this imperfect three-dimensional maneuvering device to help him fly. But this could not be achieved in a short time, and Lin Xuan was just thinking about it. The balance training was passed smoothly soon. Lin Xuan's side was very smooth, but others were not so smooth. Many students had difficulty keeping balance and kept falling, including Alan Yeager. Lin Xuan sighed, why is this guy always so unlucky? He understood why this guy couldn't keep balance. His belt was broken, so after equipping this belt, the center of gravity of his body was very unstable. In this case, no matter how strong his balance ability was, he couldn't keep stable, so he kept falling from above. Haha, he talked about expelling the Titans, but he couldn't even complete such training. I think he is the one who will be expelled. Many students began to laugh at Alan. After all, Alan had always been very impolite before. He said that the weak will be eliminated and the weak will not be able to survive. Such words naturally caused dissatisfaction among everyone, including many people who had opinions about Alan. And at this time, seeing him embarrassed and seeing the desperate expression on his face, everyone felt very happy in their hearts, especially for them. Lin Xuan took a look and did not help Alan. As the male protagonist, it would be better for him to experience some tempering. Moreover, in Attack on Titan, Lin Xuan hated Alan very much. It was this guy who killed Petra. Petra died so tragically, and this guy had to bear half of the responsibility. It was not so easy for Lin Xuan to forgive him. And he had other things to do now, such as dating the little angel. Naturally, he couldn't waste time on Alan. Krista. Lin Xuan walked quickly to Krista's side and shouted in her ear. Krista was startled. Ymir, who was accompanying her, saw that it was Lin Xuan who came, glared at Lin Xuan hatefully and left. Obviously, she already knew what Lin Xuan meant. This guy just wanted to make friends with Krista and had no intention of hurting her. This made her feel a little relieved. Even if she was worried, she couldn't do anything to Lin Xuan. After all, she couldn't beat Lin Xuan. Brother Lin Xuan, do you have something to talk to me about? Krista was a little younger than Lin Xuan, so she called him brother. In her opinion, he loved her like an older brother. Well, it's nothing serious, I just want to go for a walk with you, are you free? Lin Xuan said with a smile. The little angel tied up a part of her hair on the right side today, which made her look more refreshing. Lin Xuan liked this hairstyle very much. Yes, sure. I'll be free. The little angel smiled, put her hands behind her back and looked at Lin Xuan obediently, her eyes twinkling, as if she was a little nervous and expectant. Lin Xuan smiled, and suddenly took out a bouquet of flowers from behind like a magic trick and gave it to her. Here, for you. The little angel was stunned for a moment, then took the flower handed over by Lin Xuan with surprise, put it to her nose and sniffed it hard, then closed her eyes, with an expression of enjoyment on her face. Wow! What a nice fragrance! What kind of flower is this? This artistic little yellow flower with branches and leaves smells particularly mellow, making her feel refreshed physically and mentally, as if she were wandering in a sea of flowers. This flower is called osmanthus. It smells very good and can be used to make tea, which has the effect of refreshing the mind. This is a flower that Lin Xuan found in the back mountain of the training camp. This kind of flower is very common in their world. Every summer and autumn, when this flower blooms, the whole street and the whole city will be filled with a strong floral fragrance. That fragrance makes people feel very enjoyable. And he only saw a few such osmanthus trees in this world. I think it is because the current territory of mankind is too small. Large areas of land outside the wall have fallen. The result is that they have never seen many things. For example, deserts, seas, snow-capped mountains, etc. These things do not exist in the world inside the wall. Chapter 14. After all, the little angel is just a child, and it is easy to coax her. Lin Xuan took her to the sea of flowers he found in the back mountain. The little angel was instantly fascinated by the sea of flowers all over the mountain. The whole person was excited in the sea of flowers, smelling this flower for a while, holding another bouquet of flowers for a while, and he couldn't let go of each one. However, because his little hands couldn't hold too many, he had to give up some of the flowers he liked very much. Brother Lin Xuan, does the wreath on my head look good? The little angel made a wreath for herself and put it on her head, then ran to Lin Xuan excitedly and asked for his opinion. Lin Xuan nodded, well, it looks good. Hehe, is that so? Who is prettier, me or the flowers? The little angel rolled her eyes and asked mischievously. Lin Xuan touched her head and said with a smile, the flowers are prettier. The little angel's mouth sank, and it was obvious that she was not satisfied with Lin Xuan's answer. But the person is more beautiful. Lin Xuan Jiao. He smiled. If he had known the purpose of this guy asking this question, he would have come up with a countermeasure. How about it, is it a surprise? Is it unexpected? Hehe, brother Lin Xuan, you are a liar, what are you doing? I saw you have been here for a long time without moving. The little angel came over curiously, wanting to see what Lin Xuan was doing. There was such a beautiful scenery here, but he was not moved at all, which made the little angel very curious. Wait a minute, it's almost done, you can't look at it yet. Lin Xuan desperately covered the drawing board in his hand and didn't show it to the little angel. He was not sitting here in a daze, but painting. What he painted was the scene of the little angel playing in this sea of flowers. The scene was so beautiful that Lin Xuan wanted to record it forever with his brush. Let me have a look. The little angel was not happy. The more he tried to hide it, the more curious she became. People always want to find out more about things they are curious about. The more Lin Xuan tried to stop her from seeing it, the more she wanted to see it. Okay, if you want to see it, I'll show it to you. But I have to tell you in advance that my drawing skills are not very high. If I don't draw well, you are not allowed to get angry. Lin Xuan had no choice but to take out the drawing board and show it to her. Wow, this is a sea of flowers. Hey, this person is not. The little angel only saw a sea of flowers at first, but as Lin Xuan showed her more and more, she gradually saw more and more. When she saw herself in the painting, the little angel's face instantly turned red, and she was embarrassed and speechless. Ymir secretly watched this scene from behind the woods not far away, and pouted slightly. Lin Xuan was really good at picking up girls. Her little angel would soon be addicted to his gentleness and unable to extricate herself. 3 months passed quickly, and the three-dimensional maneuvering training basically came to an end. However, after completing the basic theory and balance courses, they still need to conduct field maneuvering training. This time, the training content is not to advance on foot, but to advance using a three-dimensional maneuvering device. The structure of the three-dimensional maneuvering device is very complicated, and there are certain risks in using it. Therefore, at the beginning of the training, the instructors have told everyone the dangers they may face. If there is a problem with their three-dimensional maneuvering device during the flight, or if they fail to master their three-dimensional maneuvering device during the training process, fail to control the direction, and fail to adjust the center of gravity in time, it is very easy to get into danger during the use process. And such a situation has not happened before, and many students have died for this reason. Therefore, three-dimensional maneuvering field training is dangerous. However, for Lin Xuan, this thing is now completely familiar. With the help of the system and his own diligent practice, his control over these things has now reached the level of perfection. Even compared with the veterans in the Survey Corps, Lin Xuan is not inferior at all. Krista, stay with me later. If there is any unexpected situation on the road, I will protect you. Krista is not a student suitable for fighting. Although she has completed various exercises very well, Lin Xuan is still not very confident about her. Such field training is dangerous, and he does not want Krista to encounter danger, so he proposed to protect her by her side. Don't worry, brother Lin Xuan, I'm fine. I passed the test with excellent results. Nothing will happen. The little angel knew that Lin Xuan was concerned about her, but she was still a little bit unconvinced in her heart. She felt that she did not need anyone's protection. She was also a capable person. In the future, she could go to the battlefield to fight giants. She felt that she was no worse than others. Well, okay, then you pay attention to safety. Lin Xuan frowned slightly, but seeing her expression, Lin Xuan didn't say anything. However, he didn't give up the idea of protecting Krista in his heart. At worst, he didn't pursue the so-called first place this time. He would just watch behind her. If she had any accidents, Lin Xuan could take action in time. Soon, the training began. The main drive of the three-dimensional maneuvering device is the gas in the hydraulic tank. If the gas is used up, then basically there is no way to maneuver in the air, so the distance they can maneuver is generally limited, with 1000 meters as the limit. If it exceeds this distance, the gas tank must be replaced, otherwise it is easy to lose maneuverability due to exhaustion of gas. If you lose the ability to maneuver in the air, it is naturally a very dangerous thing, so this time the training distance is only 1000 meters. Chapter 15. A distance of 1000 meters can actually be reached very quickly, especially when using a three-dimensional mobile device. The speed will be very fast, and it often only takes a few minutes to reach the finish line. However, considering that everyone is a new recruit and is not so proficient in the actual use of the three-dimensional mobile device, the speed requirement is not so high during training. In order to improve safety, as long as everyone can reach the finish line safely this time, the training will be a complete success. After the training began, Lin Xuan deliberately fell behind and did not move to the front immediately like before. Instead, he deliberately lagged behind the little angel by 1 or 2 positions so that he could observe the little angel well and protect her by the way. This thing is very cool to use, but it is also very troublesome. Lin Xuan was amazed at the operation of the three-dimensional maneuvering device, because with the technology of the people inside the wall, it is very difficult to make such a thing. And the person who can come up with this idea is obviously very remarkable. However, there are many limitations to this thing, which makes Lin Xuan not very satisfied. The first point is that these things are heavy. The 2 knife boxes at the legs, 2 gas tanks, the spray nozzles of the three-dimensional maneuvering device at the waist, and the fixing devices all over the body, it takes more than 10 minutes to equip this set of things, not to mention that the structural weight of these things is more than 30 pounds. If these things are carried on the back, it will greatly increase the burden on the body, making it very inconvenient to move. It's just because the giant is too tall. If you can't use the three-dimensional maneuvering device, there is no way to deal with the opponent. If you can have a move like the ancient Qing Gong, you can jump high without the help of the three-dimensional maneuvering device, and move automatically in the air, then it will be much easier to deal with the giant. As for this skill, Lin Xuan has seen it in the 6 styles of the Navy. Among the 6 styles of the Navy, there are moonstep and shaving. Both of these skills can help the human body move quickly. Moonstep can fly into the sky by quickly stepping on the collapse. If Lin Xuan learns these 2 methods, it will undoubtedly be a huge improvement for his strength. It's a pity that these things don't exist in this world, and I don't know whether they exist in the system. System, is there any ability that can allow people to fly over rooftops and walls? If we want to fight giants in the future, using this three-dimensional mobile device is obviously not enough. Anyway, we are training now, and the little angel in front of us seems to be doing fine, so Lin Xuan started chatting with the system, preparing to get some information from the system. Flying ability can be trained, but the host can only start practicing after being promoted to the official soldier level. The host is not currently qualified to learn such combat skills. The cold voice of the system reached Lin Quan's ears. Lin Xuan curled his lips. This system was really rude. But it doesn't matter if it's like this. It's not a big problem. Just upgrade slowly anyway. He used to think that he could only gain experience by completing tasks if he wanted to upgrade. But yesterday he accidentally discovered that the system had issued a lot of experience. This surprised Lin Xuan. After a little understanding, I realized that as long as I trained myself, I could continue to gain experience during the recruit stage. And these experiences are gained based on the amount of training. Completing 10 hours of training can gain 1 experience point. You can get 10 experience points after completing 100 hours of training. Lin Xuan had less training time before, so he gained more than 20 experience points, which is almost 200 hours of training time. But with these experiences, Lin Xuan has enough to meet the needs of upgrading to level 2. So he upgraded his level to level 2 without hesitation, and now his level is a level 2 recruit. There are still 8 levels away from the final goal of completing the recruit's level 10. After understanding the situation with the system, it takes 40 experience points to upgrade from level 2 to level 3, which means a bonus of 400 hours of training time. And according to their normal in terms of training volume, they have to train for about 8 hours a day. This is the training time required by the instructor. After the group training, they can practice more. For example, Alan is a typical workaholic. He spends most of his time on training and doesn't even spend time with the beautiful woman around him. If Lin Xuan reduces the time he spends with the little angel and spends more time on training, then he can basically upgrade to level 3 in 1.5 months. It takes 70 experience points to upgrade from level 3 to level 4, which is about 2.5 months. It takes 110 experience points to upgrade from level 4 to level 5, which is about. It's 4 months. They have to stay in the recruit camp for a total of 3 years. Now less than half a year has passed, and there are still 2.5 years, almost 30 months. And he can also get experience rewards by completing some tasks, which can also speed up the upgrade. Basically, within this period of time, Lin Xuan can be promoted from the recruit stage to the ordinary soldier stage. It's only 2 or 3 years. Lin Xuan has now clarified his goal, and his confidence has increased a lot. He can obtain key flying skills at the recruit stage, which is really exciting. Be careful. At this moment, Lin Xuan was not paying attention and an accident happened in front of him. Lin Xuan saw the little angel falling from the sky like an angel with broken wings. Swoosh! Lin Xuan rushed over and hugged the little angel in the air tightly. How are you okay? Krista. Lin Xuan checked her body with great concern and found that she had some bruises on her head. Brother Lin Xuan, I'm fine, there is a giant. The little angel's eyes were filled with fear, and he stretched out a slender finger and pointed behind Lin Xuan. Roar! A huge roar instantly startled the entire jungle. Lin Xuan looked back and saw a giant staring at them fiercely. Chapter 16. Giant? Isn't this inside the rose wall? Why are there giants? In an instant, a huge question mark appeared in Lin Quan's mind. He had no idea what was going on. Their training place was inside the wall, and as long as the wall was not destroyed, it was basically impossible for giants to appear here. However, this was no longer a question of how the giant came from. The first thing they had to consider was how to kill this giant. It's a giant, how could a giant be here? We are done. The giant is so huge, how can we possibly be his opponent? The people here are basically recruits. Many of them are seeing giants for the first time. Although they have learned about giants in books before, sitting in the classroom without any worries and learning about giants without any life-threatening situation is completely different from encountering giants in the wild. In the textbooks, they only know some cold data. There are 3-meter level, 4-meter level, 8-meter level, 12-meter level, 15-meter level, 50-meter level, and so on. When they saw these data, they did not have an intuitive impression in their hearts. Even if they had an intuitive impression, it would not have caused much impact on them. After seeing the giant in person, the impact was very shocking. The height of this giant is about 12 meters, which is a relatively large giant. Its appearance is very ugly, basically the same as the giant described in the book. After he suddenly discovered a large group of people here, he instantly showed a happy expression, and grabbed several recruits who were unable to dodge or were already scared silly. Snap! The giants' eating instinct made them immediately stuff the captured prey into their mouths. "Ah, I don't want to die, save me." Those humans who were sent into the giant's mouth like wooden chickens, who felt severe pain because of the giant's chewing at this time, let out a series of shrill screams. And the people who were already scared silly, seeing their companions being eaten by the other party like this, their faces turned pale in an instant. Some people who had just mustered up some courage and were ready to use the knowledge learned from textbooks to fight against the giants, the courage in their hearts disappeared without a trace at this time. Many people were even so scared that their legs were weak, and they couldn't control the three-dimensional mobile device well, and fell from the air, and were seriously injured or even killed. And more people reacted, panicked, and shouted and began to run away. They understood that they were not the opponent of this giant, and they didn't have the courage to rush up to fight. Even if they had such courage, they would only die in vain. So, running away became their only choice. In the final analysis, even the veterans of the garrison corps would feel scared and even want to run away when facing the giants, not to mention that they were a group of people who had not completed their training. The new recruits. It's normal for them to want to escape. Morale collapsed in an instant, and almost no one chose to rush towards the giant. Even Alan, who had wanted to disperse the giants countless times in his dreams because of the scene of his mother being eaten by the giants, was stunned at this time. The gap between reality and dreams was too big. In front of the real giants, he found it difficult to even muster the courage to fight. His hands and feet became weak involuntarily, and his whole body was even trembling because of fear, especially when he saw his companions being cruelly eaten by the giants, and the giants grabbed more companions who were struggling desperately in their hands. He didn't think about saving them, but wanted to escape. Alan trembled slightly, trying hard to suppress the fear in his heart. He told himself over and over again in his heart. These are the giants you want to disperse. You want to join the Survey Corps just to kill them, and now they appear in front of you. This is a great opportunity for you to kill them. But he still couldn't muster up the courage to go up and fight the giants. Aaron, it's dangerous here, let's go quickly, let the instructors deal with the titans. Anyway, let's retreat to a safe place first. Mikasa was worried that Aaron would go berserk at first, but she didn't expect Aaron to hesitate when facing the titan. But it's okay this way, at least Aaron won't die. Krista, is your 3D maneuvering device still usable? It's not safe here, let's leave first. Lin Xuan looked back at the giant. The giant had successfully captured several prey and was eating very attentively at this time, so they were not in great danger at this time. They just had to leave the giant's sight quickly. Well, I'm fine. Krista stood up with great effort, but her legs seemed to be injured, and she felt unstable when she exerted a little force. Let me get you out. Lin Xuan took a look and felt a little worried. In the little angel's current condition, it would be terrible if she fell down while flying in the air. So he picked up the little angel and took her away from here quickly. The little angel blushed so much. Because they had to use the three-dimensional maneuvering device, Lin Xuan held her with one hand. In this way, the two of them were very close to each other, so close that she could clearly feel each other's breathing and heartbeat. She had never been so close to someone, especially a person of the opposite sex, so her heart was pounding like a deer. What's wrong? Are you okay? Lin Xuan noticed her abnormality and asked with his head down. Ah, no. It's okay. The little angel didn't expect that Lin Xuan noticed her embarrassment, so she became even more flustered, her face flushed, and she looked very embarrassed. Lin Xuan looked at her strangely, and then quickly took her to a safe place. Alan, Mikasa, Krista is injured. I'm going to hold the giant back, you help me take care of her. After seeing Mikasa and the others, Lin Xuan immediately entrusted Krista to them, and turned back to the battlefield. Chapter 17. What did he just say? The two felt very unbelievable. They heard clearly what Lin Xuan said just now, but it was still a little unbelievable. He actually said that he wanted to go back to fight the giant. What a joke, they are new recruits who have not yet completed their training. At this time, they don't even know the most basic combat skills. What should they pay attention to in the battle? How should they cooperate? They don't even know the weaknesses of the giants. How can they defeat such a big giant? They have no confidence at all. The size difference between the two sides is too huge. In their opinion, there is no hope of winning. He said he wanted to go back and fight the titans. Mikasa seemed much calmer than Aaron at this time, but she was also not optimistic about Lin Quan's decision. Although this guy usually looks strong, this titan is obviously more powerful than him. The two sides are not on the same level in terms of strength alone. Even Mikasa herself doesn't know how to defeat the titan. Krista, don't move. You are injured. We will take you to get bandaged. Armin was with Eren and Mikasa at this time. When he saw Krista struggling to stand up, he immediately stopped her. The wound on her head had not been bandaged yet and was still bleeding. The wound on her leg was also quite serious. The pain made her afraid to use force, so it was difficult for her to support herself to stand up. Even if she stood up, she could not stand steadily. I'm going to help brother Lin Xuan, he will be in danger alone. Krista thought that Lin Xuan was going to take her to a safe place, and then the two of them would stay there together, but she didn't expect that after Lin Xuan sent her here, he went back. And he also said that he was going to fight the giant. But the giant was so strong, how could he be the giant's opponent? If he couldn't beat the giant, wouldn't he become the giant's food? Therefore, Krista was anxious and wanted to go back to Lin Xuan immediately to stop him. If she couldn't stop him, she also wanted to fight side by side with Lin Xuan. He asked us to protect you. You can't go back. It's too dangerous. Lin Xuan is very strong. If he goes to fight alone, he might have a chance to win. But if you, Krista, go there, Lin Xuan will be distracted. Once he is distracted, it will be difficult to defeat the titan. Armin knew that they had a deep relationship, so he didn't stop her directly at this time, but tried to persuade her with reason. But after hearing what Armin said, Krista was obviously a little hesitant. She had to admit that Armin was right. If she went, she really couldn't help, and might even hinder Lin Xuan. Ah, Ymir, is she back? Have you seen Ymir? The giant attacked Ymir at first, but Krista helped her block it. It was just that she didn't see Ymir at this time, so she was worried about her safety. Mikasa and Eren looked at each other. Mikasa nodded, and said to the two of them, I'll go back and see if I can find her. After that, he used the three-dimensional mobile device to leave. At this time, Lin Xuan had already arrived at the front battlefield. This was the first time he really saw a giant. It must be said that the size of the giant gave him a great shock. This guy is really too big. If they had human wisdom and flexibility, it would definitely be more difficult to deal with. But fortunately, the giant in front of him was just an ordinary giant without wisdom and not even a strange species. Ding, the system prompts, the super difficult task has been released, please check it out. Just when Lin Xuan adjusted his state and was ready to rush up to kill the giant, the system prompt sounded. Hey? There's another task? Is this an easy question? He immediately logged into the system and took a look. The task in the system was to kill the giant in front of him. The first battle of the new recruits, kill this 12-meter level giant. Completing the task will earn you 100 experience points and a month's supply reward. Damn! 100 experience points. Lin Quan's eyes were wide open. The reward for this task is too rich. There are 100 experience points, which is equivalent to completing 10 novice tasks. Lin Xuan took a look and found that the difficulty of this task was a super difficult task. Although it was still a novice task, the difficulty was about the same as the basic tasks of ordinary soldiers. Considering his current level and combat effectiveness, such a task should be very difficult. However, Lin Xuan himself was very confident that he could complete this task. This giant was not intelligent, so it was easier to deal with. In addition, the other party was still busy eating, so there was no difference between him and Lin Xuan. Although he didn't know how he appeared here, Lin Xuan didn't need to figure it out. He just needed to go around its neck and chop it hard. If he got these 100 experience points, Lin Xuan could upgrade directly to level 4. He had gained 10 more experience points when he completed the upgrade just now. With the experience of this giant, Lin Xuan could directly jump 2 levels. The reward of killing this giant was too tempting. The more Lin Xuan thought about it, the more he felt that killing him was a good deal. At this time, the scene was in chaos. More than a dozen recruits were attacked by the giant. The giant's arms were very long and the speed was very fast. When the recruits could not adjust their status in time, they were very easy to be caught. Lin Xuan used the three-dimensional maneuvering device to adjust the distance between himself and the giant. Fortunately, this is a forest. There are many trees in the forest that can be used as anchor piles for him to use the three-dimensional maneuvering device. If there were no trees, they would basically have no resistance on the plains, The three-dimensional maneuvering device on the flat ground has no way to borrow power, so it is naturally difficult to deal with the giant, but now it is different. Lin Xuan has a lot of room to play. Chapter 18. Don't panic, don't confuse, everyone use the three-dimensional mobile device to evacuate immediately. Instructor Keith tried hard to control his warhorse at this time, trying to calm the students down and protect more students. But even he himself was very panicked at this time. Instructor Keith himself had seen giants, but the other people in the instructor's team had never dealt with giants in their lives. Therefore, in front of the giants, they were also greatly shocked, and the shock and panic in their hearts were not much better than those of ordinary students. It is definitely unrealistic to expect them to fight. However, if he goes to fight the giant alone, he feels that there is little hope. After all, his skills are no longer as good as before. Instructor Keith, please fire a signal flare immediately to notify the nearby garrison troops to come for help. Someone among the students reminded, and Instructor Keith suddenly woke up. Yes, he still had flares prepared just in case. So he started loading and quickly fired a red flare. The red flare means that they have encountered a giant. The height of this flare can reach 200 meters. At this height, I believe that the garrison corps a few kilometers away can definitely see it. If it were 2 years ago, such a red flare might not attract the attention of the garrison corps. After all, the giants only exist outside the wall, and they have not fought with them for more than 100 years. But now it is different. After the Maria Wall was broken through by the giants have successfully threatened the survival of all mankind. Therefore, the garrison corps has also increased its vigilance and is particularly sensitive to various flares. They dare not be negligent. After all, if an accident occurs due to their negligence, no one can afford the responsibility. In the distance, inside the garrison corps under the city wall, several soldiers who were playing cards and drinking saw the red flares rising in the jungle in the distance, and they were slightly stunned. Hey, what's going on over there? Why are there red flares? A soldier stood up and took a look through the telescope. Through the telescope, he could clearly see that the flares fired from a distance were red. This meant that they had encountered a giant. Impossible? How could a giant appear inside the wall? And that should be the training camp, right? What the hell are they doing? Another soldier took a lazy look and didn't care about the red flare. Anyway, it's better to go and take a look. If there is really a situation, we can't just sit back and watch. The soldier before was more cautious. After all, they were on duty. If they encountered such a thing and ignored it, they would definitely be held responsible. Regardless of whether the training corps had messed up something, they had to go and take a look. Well, you go and have a look, I'll stay here. Another soldier was lazy, half drunk, and didn't want to run around at this time. It would be better to lie here comfortably and bask in the sun. Red flare? What's going on? The survey corps' camp was not far away, and they also saw the red flare, but it was a little strange. The launch position of the flare was inside the wall, and it seemed to be at the location of the training squad, so their first reaction was the same as that of the garrison corps. They thought that the training corps had messed up and accidentally launched the flare. But just when they felt strange, another red flare went up. All of a sudden, everyone's faces became serious. It is impossible for a misfire to happen twice, and the other party obviously knows what the red flare means. The continuous firing of red flares is asking for help from them. Captain, a giant seems to have appeared in the training corps. The soldiers did not dare to neglect and immediately reported the news to Erwin, the commander of the survey corps. This matter must be reported to him so that he can make a decision. Inform Levi and ask him to take Levi's team to investigate immediately. If a giant is found, use green flares to notify us. The green flares are used in their long-distance search formations. The effect is similar to the red flares used by other corps, but the battle plan of the survey corps is more complicated, so the meaning of their flares is slightly different. Yes. The soldier immediately clenched his fist to his chest, a standard etiquette of the imperial giant offering his heart, and then left quickly. Really, I just came back from outside, and I thought I could have a good rest, but I have to go on a mission again. The soldiers complained a few words. Levi was silent, and didn't say anything, but his eyes looking at the eye-catching red flares in the distance seemed very fierce. Has the giant appeared inside the Rose Wall? What does this mean? Does humanity have to give up the remaining half of the land inside the Rose Wall? After the fall of Wall Maria, the territory they controlled was reduced by 1/3, and because of this reason, they lost a lot of land and a lot of food, which caused them to lose nearly a quarter of their population, and this time, if they lose this large piece of land behind the rose wall, they will face huge losses. Therefore, the atmosphere inside the Survey Corps became tense in an instant. Levi's squad is a team with superior combat effectiveness formed with Levi as the core, and in this team, Levi has the greatest authority. Get ready, Patera, you take them to prepare for departure, I will go ahead. Remember, after arriving at the destination, observe first, and then develop the battle plan, understand? Petra stood straight, saluted the respected captain, and said loudly, understood, Captain. Oruo, Elder, Genta and others also nodded to Levi, indicating that they had received the order. Levi is not only their superior, but also an idol and god in their hearts, so they have nothing to say about Levi's orders, and they all obey unconditionally. Chapter 19. You are very powerful, but unfortunately you are very slow. Just as the Survey Corps and the Garrison Corps rushed over here, Lin Xuan had already launched an attack on the giant. This was Lin Quan's first attempt to fight with a three-dimensional mobile device. But after a little adaptation, his performance became more and more stable. Fortunately, this is not an intelligent giant. If it was a female giant that Annie turned into, Lin Xuan would have been beaten into a meat pie by now. Intelligent giants are more agile and have faster reactions. They are also good at playing to their strengths. They already have the advantage of strength, and with wisdom, the degree of terror will increase exponentially. This can be seen from the casualties caused by Annie's attack on the Survey Corps. As experienced as the elites of the Survey Corps, they have little power to fight back in front of Annie, even though their performance is already very good. But the giant in front of him is just an ordinary giant. After Lin Xuan circled around him, he basically found the weakness of this big guy. The turning speed is slow, the movement range is large but the body coordination is very poor, and the attention is easily distracted. Lin Xuan smiled slightly and pulled out the blade in his hand. It seems that it is not difficult to deal with this guy now. Mikasa just rushed here and wanted to rescue Ymir, but just when she was about to look for Ymir, she found that the giant seemed to be out of control. What's going on? What happened? Mikasa was startled and confused about the situation. She looked up and saw Lin Xuan rushing out from behind the giant, holding a blade in his hand, with a red blood stain on his body, and the blood was still steaming. Is this guy crazy? The giant is so big, how can we attack him without knowing his weaknesses? Their 3D mobile device training has not been completed yet, so they don't know the location of the giant's weaknesses. They will learn this after completing the 3D mobile device course. So the reason why the students were terrified at this time and no one had the courage to fight the giant was mainly because they didn't know the giant's weaknesses at all. Without knowing the giant's weaknesses, the gap in strength between the two sides seemed too big. If they acted rashly, they would be sending themselves to death, and it didn't look like they could defeat the giant at all. Therefore, in Mikasa's view, Lin Quan's behavior was like slapping a fly on a tiger's head, which was a suicidal behavior. Damn it! Lin Xuan looked at the giant with hatred. He had seized the opportunity to strike the giant from behind. But he did not grasp the timing very well. The giant turned around at that moment. Therefore, although Lin Quan's attack hit his body, it did not cause a fatal blow to him. Lin Xuan did not hit the back of his neck. Are you still too nervous? Lin Xuan quickly distanced himself, keeping himself at a safe distance, and looked down at the blood on his hands. The giant's blood was very hot and quickly began to vaporize, but it still looked quite disgusting. Lin Xuan himself felt a little nauseous when he smelled this pungent smell. Crack, crack. The giant turned his head and looked at Lin Xuan. He was holding a struggling student in his hand and stuffing him into his mouth. It was unknown how many students he had eaten, but his harvest today must have been great. He broke into the human nest and instantly captured more than a dozen defenseless humans, allowing him to feast on them. Damn it, I will never forgive you. The student whose body was bitten to pieces let out an earth-shattering scream. Lin Quan's hands trembled slightly, but not because of fear, but because of anger. The attitude of this giant towards him made him very angry. He had just attacked this guy, but this guy didn't take Lin Xuan seriously at all. He just glanced at him and ignored him. Instead, he began to concentrate on eating. And this attitude completely angered Lin Xuan. This time, he will not make mistakes again. Directly nailing the anchor pile of the three-dimensional maneuvering device to the giant's body, Lin Xuan chose the most risky way, which was to jump directly onto the giant to attack him. Before this, Lin Kuan's way of attack was to maneuver behind the giant, use other trees behind him to fix himself, and then make room. The advantage of this is that the anchor pile of his three-dimensional mobile device is fixed at a high position and will not be affected by the giant's actions. As long as the attacking hand is in place, he can evacuate immediately. Even if the attack fails, it is easy for him to leave. After all, he is not very proficient in the three-dimensional mobile device, so Lin Xuan chose this method, but this method also has its disadvantages, that is, the time window for him to make an attack is too short, so he does not have much room for choice. The first attack was because of lack of time, so after the giant twisted his body, his attack failed. And this time, Lin Xuan was very radical and directly nailed the anchor pile of the three-dimensional mobile device to the giant's body. In this way, the giant became his moving target. Go to hell! Lin Xuan roared and rushed over. The giant finally noticed that there was a small thing flying towards him, so he stretched out his hand and prepared to grab it. Clang! But Lin Xuan did not stop at all. He directly cut off his fingers with a blade and flew directly over his arm. Swish! The second anchor pile was retracted from the tree and nailed to the giant's neck. Lin Xuan had already started to fold and his body quickly passed the front of the giant and came to his back. The three-dimensional maneuvering device performed very well in Lin Xuan's hands. Using the injection of gas and the traction of the anchor pile, Lin Xuan's speed was very fast and his movements were very smooth. The giant did not react at all. Chapter 20. So fast. Mikasa was watching very realistically from below, because she was not far from Lin Xuan and the giant, so she could see everything completely. And just now when she saw Lin Xuan rushing towards the giant, she was very surprised. When she saw that Lin Xuan's forward route was completely blocked by the giant, she was very worried. She thought Lin Xuan would be caught by the giant and become the giant's bait. Because from the bottom, Lin Xuan was almost completely covered by the giant's palm. But Lin Xuan pulled out the blade in time, cut off all the giant's fingers, flew over his broken hand, and then refixed his position and adjusted it. The anchor pile of the three-dimensional maneuvering device landed easily behind the giant. Mikasa was dazzled by this series of actions and was very surprised. Although they had learned the theory of the three-dimensional maneuvering device, today was the first time they put it into practice. Lin Xuan was able to use it so skillfully in the first practice. How much time must he have spent on research, and how talented he is. Mikasa had always been bothered by the fact that Lin Xuan was better than her, and she couldn't believe it in her heart. But this time, facing the facts before her, she had to admit in her heart that maybe Lin Xuan was really better than her. At this time, Levi also rushed to the battlefield, but he was still far away and could not join the battle immediately. As expected, the recruits were very panicked. They were panicked and did not launch effective counterattacks. They did not even deploy the formation between the teams. It seemed that they were completely defeated. Levi sighed slightly in his heart. If he could not fight, he would only become food in the giant's mouth, and it would be a pity to die in vain like that. Hey! Just as he sighed, he heard the roar of the giant. He looked closely and found a black shadow rushing towards the giant. Are the instructors in the training corps fighting the giants? Levi wondered in his heart. In his opinion, this batch of students had too short a training period, so it was unlikely that they would be of any use. And most of their instructors were veterans who had mastered combat skills. Although they might never have been to the front line in their lives and had never really fought against giants, they still had the ability to fight against giants. And at this time, facing the attack of the giants, they must stand up, protect their students, and assume their responsibilities as instructors. These people did not hide away from their responsibilities, but chose to fight against the giants, which made Levi feel a little relieved. If it were the people inside the wall. If everyone in the army had the courage to fight the titans, then they, the Survey Corps, would not have encountered so many problems. The purpose of the Survey Corps is to expel the titans and fight for the freedom of mankind, so their pattern is the wings of freedom. The Survey Corps has the highest casualty rate among all the corps and is the most dangerous. Others are hiding safely in the wall, protected by the Gundam walls. If it weren't for the appearance of the colossal titan, they wouldn't even worry about being threatened by the titans. But the Survey Corps is an alien in their eyes. They have to live a good life and run out of the city walls to fight and investigate with the titans in the wild. And their pursuers. Begging, no one else can understand. They don't want to stay inside the wall and become a pet that has lost its freedom. What they yearn for is a free world. In pursuit of this world, they are willing to give their hearts and lives. Unfortunately, the people inside the wall not only don't understand them, but also make things difficult for the Survey Corps, making their investigation activities outside the wall more and more difficult. And now, seeing that this instructor actually launched an attack on the giant alone, Levi felt very relieved in his heart, as if hope was not shattered, and hope always exists. It's just that although this guy has the courage to fight the giant, his performance is still a little too poor. In Levi's opinion, whether it is the choice of timing or the choice of fighting method, he is far from a qualified fighter. After all, he has never encountered a giant in his life. It is already remarkable that he can muster the courage to fight, so it is understandable that he neglects combat skills. It is better to leave things like fighting to the Survey Corps, they are the most professional in this kind of thing. Levi drove his three-dimensional mobile device and immediately rushed to the area of the battle. He was still praying in his heart that this guy would not die too early, otherwise it would be a pity to waste a spark. However, before he could get to the battlefield, he saw that the giant who was so arrogant just now, actually fell down with a bang. Did it work? Levi was shocked. Such poor tactics and fighting skills could kill this giant. This is too good to be true. Ding! The system prompts that the host has completed the task of killing the giant and is rewarded with 100 experience points. Ding! System prompts, the host chooses to consume 110 experience points to upgrade, and the current level is 4. Ding! The system prompts that the host has unlocked the primary achievement, First Blood, completed the killing of the first giant, and obtained the title of First Blood. The moment Lin Chuan finished killing the giant, a series of system prompts instantly rang in his mind. Lin Chuan was shocked. So many? There are also achievements and titles? What is the use of this title of First Blood? Lin Chuan quickly opened the system and looked inside the system. The First Blood title can be obtained by completing a giant kill. The effect of the title, increase the strength attribute by a point. The title has been automatically worn and can be changed in the equipment interface. Oh, so that's how it is? It is an achievement obtained automatically, and it can also increase strength familiarity. That looks pretty good. Lin Chuan nodded, and then he was curious about his various attribute data after he reached level 4, so he opened the status bar and checked it out. Chapter 21. Lin Chuan opened the data panel and took a look. The data was much higher than the previous level 1. Strength increased from 65 to 72 points. Stamina increased from 74 to 79 points. Constitution increased from 70 to 76 points. Spirit increased from 66 to 73 points. The overall evaluation has reached C and level. Not bad, it seems that all attributes have been improved. His hard training during this period was worth it. Now it seems that the training is still very effective. But what is this evaluation level? I don't seem to have seen this thing before. Why are my attributes so high, but the evaluation is still only C level? Are you okay? Mikasa came to Lin Chuan and asked with concern. Lin Chuan calmly patted the dust on his body and shook his head. It's okay, just a giant, a small matter. He was pretending to be awesome. This giant was not easy to deal with. He was just lucky. Mikasa nodded. Since he was okay, she would go to take care of the other wounded. Boy, what's your name? Just after Mikasa left, a strange voice sounded behind Lin Chuan, which made him slightly stunned. Looking back, he found that the man was actually Captain Levi, so he became excited instantly. Captain Levi, why are you here? Lin Chuan is a fan of the captain. My captain is a ruthless man who doesn't talk much. If he doesn't take action, it's fine. Once he takes action, he will succeed. Even the female titan who brought great trouble to the Survey Corps seemed to have no power to fight back under the attack of the captain alone. Although the captain himself thought that he had no way to defeat her alone, the strength he showed when he attacked the female titan was indeed quite shocking. The power and speed that reached the extreme of human beings were perfectly combined in him, making violence a beautiful art. When fighting against giants, don't use today's method again. Did you hear me, new recruit? Captain Levi was not polite to Lin Chuan just because he was his fan. He had thought that the one fighting against the giant was an instructor from the training corps. But when he came over, he saw that the giant was a little kid who hadn't even grown all his hair. He was naturally a little surprised. However, he was also a little surprised by the strength and potential shown by Lin Chuan. If this kid continued like this, he might have a bright future. Therefore, he spoke up to remind Lin Xuan to pay attention to his fighting style, so as not to be easily killed when facing other giants in the future. It was so hard to find a good seedling. If he was easily killed, it would be a pity. If it weren't for this reason, the cold captain would not bother to say such things to a new recruit. Yes, Captain. Lin Xuan was slightly stunned, but he immediately understood Levi's intention. He probably felt the other party's sympathetic feelings, so he was a little proud in his heart. It seemed that his strength was recognized by the captain. But before he could be secretly happy, the captain left on his own after explaining something. He didn't stay here for a while. Since the giants have been solved, let's go to other places to see if there is any situation. The training core is located inside the rose wall. A giant appeared here in the heat. This is really suspicious. New recruit, yes, did you kill the giant? Instructor Keith came hurriedly at this time. He was confused by what happened just now. The giant was killed by his own students? They haven't even completed the three-dimensional mobile device training. How is this possible? He has just sent a signal to notify the reinforcements. The reinforcements will arrive soon. However, Lin Xuan curled his lips. If they really waited until they arrived, this group of students might have been eaten by the giants. Well, it's me, what's wrong? Lin Xuan jumped down from the giant's body. After the giant was killed, white steam began to emerge from the body, and now it has begun to disappear and decompose at a speed visible to the naked eye. It's strange to say that the giant's body is very large, but their weight is not very heavy, and after being killed, the body will quickly vaporize. No one knows why, and although their blood is also very fishy, it will not be preserved for too long like their bodies. Once it is contaminated, it will evaporate quickly. Generally speaking, if the hands are stained with human blood, it must be dealt with, otherwise the hands will be too slippery to hold the hilt, and it will not be able to make an attacking move. However, there is no need to worry about being stained with the blood of the giant. Their blood evaporates very quickly and disappears cleanly without any treatment. Only patients with mysophobia like the captain will carry a white handkerchief to wipe their hands. Did you really kill him? Instructor Keith couldn't believe it. Although Lin Xuan was very strong and was one of the best students in this group, they didn't even know the giant's weakness before they finished their combat training. How did he kill the giant? Well, I've already said it was me. If you don't believe me, just ask them. They are all eyewitnesses and can prove that what I said is true. Okay, instructor, do you have anything else to say? If not, I'm leaving now. Lin Xuan seemed a little impatient. After all, the little angel was injured, and he had to go back to take care of the little angel. Oh, okay, no problem, you go first. Instructor Keith held his chin and began to think. This giant is not small in size and looks very dangerous. There are no other soldiers here. The only one who can kill him is Lin Xuan. And as Lin Xuan said, there are witnesses here. Just ask anyone and you will know. I believe that many people have seen the scene of Lin Xuan fighting the giant just now. And if they kill a giant and report it, it will obviously be a good thing for their training corps, which can allow them to gain some credit and get some rewards. Chapter 22. Brother Lin Xuan, are you okay? Are you not injured? When I saw Krista, she had already been bandaged by Aaron and Armin, and she was worried about Lin Quan's condition. After hearing the news that Lin Xuan had returned safely, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. Then she began to care about whether Lin Xuan was injured or not. Sure enough, this silly girl always worried. Haha, I'm fine, don't worry. Let me see. Lin Xuan took a look and saw that the little angel only had a piece of skin broken on her head. The wound was not very deep and was located on the hairline. It would not disfigure her. As long as she was properly adjusted, she would basically be fine. However, the injury on her leg looked a bit serious. It seemed that the bone was injured. It seemed that she would not be able to walk for a while. Does it hurt? Lin Xuan stroked her face with some concern and said to her. It doesn't hurt. If brother Lin Xuan is by my side, I won't feel any pain. Lin Xuan smiled and scratched her nose gently. You just keep talking nonsense. Doesn't it really hurt? The little angel was trying to hold on, but Lin Xuan secretly pressed on her wound. Ouch, it hurts. The little angel took a breath of cold air, and the instant pain made her feel as if she was pricked by a needle. Really? You just said it didn't hurt. Lin Xuan rolled his eyes at her in displeasure. The little angel pouted and looked at Lin Chuan with dissatisfaction. Humph, this is because you, brother Lin Chuan, pressed my wound. Brother Lin Chuan, you are so bad, you deliberately made trouble for me. The little angel's face was full of grievances. She just didn't want to make Lin Chuan worry, so she was holding on. In the end, not only did Lin Chuan expose her, but he also hurt her wound. Haha, yes, I am so bad. If you don't admit that you are injured, how can I carry you back openly? Lin Chuan smiled and put his hand through the little angel's legs, holding her up steadily. Girls sometimes have to act a little weak, so that boys will have an excuse to care and love them. If you don't give them any excuses, it will be difficult to get close to them. The little angel's face was as red as a ripe apple. She snuggled in Lin Quan's arms and couldn't say a word. She only felt that the strong sense of happiness was about to surround her. This time, the giant accident made the training corps pay a huge price. A total of 15 trainees died or went missing. The missing people were basically dead, but because they were eaten by the giants, the bodies were incomplete and difficult to identify, so they were judged as missing. More than a dozen people died among the more than 200 trainees. This proportion seems small, but it has brought a huge shock to the entire training corps. Because many of them are facing death and giants for the first time. And the horror of the giants, they also saw it for the first time. This is not a frontline combat unit. The people here are basically underage children, and they are not very old, so the death of their companions has a huge impact on them. The training, which was not very urgent at first, suddenly became urgent after this accident. No one wants to face any giants anymore, and if they want to keep themselves away from giants, they can only train hard, and then graduate with excellent results in the final assessment, and then enter the top 10, so that they can enter the gendarmerie. As long as they can enter the gendarmerie, they are basically safe. The gendarmerie will not go to the front line, and it is unlikely to come into contact with giants, so they can spend their lives in peace. It's ridiculous that they practice combat skills so hard and cultivate their actual combat potential, not to go to the battlefield to kill the enemy, but to enjoy themselves in places where they will not encounter the enemy. This kind of thing is extremely absurd and unreasonable, as if the leaders specially selected outstanding people to be by their side in order to protect their own safety. At the same time, the matter of the giant invasion was finally figured out. Is it here? Several people looked at this area and were a little surprised. They didn't expect that the giant actually slipped in from here. Judging from the footprints, this is the right place. Fortunately, there is only one exit, and it is blocked. The giant came in from the water gate. Between the three walls of Maria, Rose, and Sina, there is a not very wide canal connecting the various places. Through this canal, they can transport all kinds of materials and personnel conveniently. Compared with land transportation, the ships on the canal are obviously larger and can carry more goods. Moreover, they can move faster and have lower transportation costs. This canal is blocked by water gates when passing through the three walls. Therefore, it is basically impossible for a giant to infiltrate, but unfortunately, when the armored titan attacked, the water gate on the Rose Wall was blocked because of the increase in the transportation of goods from the Maria Wall, and was released. The heavy transportation caused some damage to the water gate here, and then the giant found a loophole and slipped in from it. After the water gate, the nearest place is the training corps camp, so this incident happened. This incident not only caused heavy losses to the training corps, but also made the residents behind the Rose Wall panic. Many people thought that the giants were attacking. If this is true, then they have no way to escape. Behind the Rose Wall is the Sina Wall, but the people living in the Sina Wall are all nobles. In their eyes, people outside are pariahs, and they will not let the pariahs outside come in. Judging from the footprints, only one giant has infiltrated this time. This is a blessing in disguise. Chapter 23. Now that the problem is found, the rest is easy. The garrison immediately brought in a large amount of manpower and resources to repair the water gate. Today, a 12-meter level giant can slip in. If this part is not blocked quickly, then tomorrow several or even dozens of giants will slip in. Once they completely break through the water gate, it will pose a huge threat to the residents inside the Rose Wall. If the protection of the Rose Wall is lost, the entire human race will only have the Sina Wall, and they will have no hope of defeating the giant. So the garrison did not dare to neglect it, and soon repaired the water gate again. Moreover, they also carefully checked the conditions of the water gates in various places, eliminated the problems in various places, and prevented this incident from happening again in other places. Keith, are the reports you made true? In the military police regiment, the officer in charge of the training corps casually flipped through the report written by Instructor Keith several times, and then asked him casually. It's absolutely true, these are all witnessed by hundreds of students on the scene. Instructor Keith stood straight, and his attitude in front of his superiors was very respectful. These were habits he had developed over the years. In the military police regiment, the hierarchy was more serious than anywhere else, so subordinates had to show absolute obedience in front of their superiors. Well, if that is the case, do you think he is the right person? The head of the military police turned to the last page of the report and looked at the personal information of the person described in the report. The name on it was very conspicuous, Lin Chuan. Well, I think he is a very suitable candidate. Instructor Keith said loudly after standing at attention. Well, okay then, let's advance his training course and rearrange special targeted training. Speaking of which, it's been a long time since we have such a strong man in our training corps. Yes, I understand, sir. Instructor Keith said loudly. Open your mouth. Lin Chuan carefully scooped a spoonful of soup, blew on it for a long time, and after making sure it was cool, he handed it to the little angel's mouth. My leg is injured, not my hand. I can handle these things by myself. The little angel blushed violently. In public, Lin Chuan openly fed her soup and food. She felt embarrassed if others saw it. It's okay, I'm free anyway, who else can I pamper if not you? Lin Chuan didn't care at all, he dared to say anything cheesy. Anyway, the little angel was in his pocket, how could he not pamper her? Sasha, let's go eat somewhere else. These two guys are feeding me so much dog food that I'm almost stuffed to death. Connie looked at Lin Chuan and the little angel with disdain, picked up his plate and prepared to leave. Sasha nodded. These two were really too much. They fed me dog food without considering other people's feelings at all. Go early, go quickly, it's better to leave. Lin Chuan didn't care at all, and waved his hand, signaling them to leave quickly. The two of them naturally would not stay here any longer, and naturally left with their own plates. As soon as they left, Lin Chuan waved to Mikasa and Aaron. Hi, Mikasa, Aaron, sit over here. The two had just finished their meal and were walking over here, preparing to find a seat to sit down. At this time, after hearing Lin Quan's voice, they looked at each other, not understanding why Lin Chuan called them. Why did he only call them two out of so many people? Didn't he just drive Sasha and Connie away? What's wrong? Lin Chuan, is there something wrong? Alan has a straightforward personality. If he has something to say, he can't hold it back and just says it out loud. Well, it's okay. I asked you to come and sit because I'm not familiar with Hannah and France. Lin Chuan smiled and said to them. The two were even more puzzled. Why did the car fall on France and Hannah for no reason? Because France and Hannah are a couple. Krista and I are also a couple, and it won't be awkward for couples to be together. You two are also a couple, right? That's why I asked you to come over here. Lin Chuan said with a smile, and after he finished speaking, he found that the other party's expression was very embarrassed. Mikasa did not deny that they were in a relationship. Although she kept saying that she regarded Alan as a family member, in fact, she still treated him as her boyfriend, right? Alan's words were a bit strange. He seemed to have a little bit of feelings for Mikasa, but he couldn't tell what kind of feelings it was. Is it the kind of natural feelings between men and women? Or the kind of feelings between relatives? Lin, the relationship between Mikasa and I is not what you think. Before Mikasa even opened her mouth, Alan couldn't wait to start explaining. Lin Chuan was a little surprised. How come this guy didn't understand romance at all? Didn't he see that he was creating an opportunity for him? If that layer of window was broken, he wouldn't be so impulsive in the future, at least he would consider the consequences a little bit, and consider Mikasa's feelings. Really? If that's the case, you don't mind others pursuing Mikasa, right? Lin Chuan continued to feed the little angel soup. The little angel had gotten used to it by now. Although he still blushed, he had basically given up. After all, everyone had seen it and he had already lost everything. There was nothing left to lose. Lin Quan's words stumped Alan. He really didn't know how to answer. If he said against his will that he didn't mind, it seemed a little too fake. He obviously cared in his heart. It was just because he had a lot of hatred in his heart. When he thought of the scene of his mother being eaten by the giant, he couldn't calm down. Although he knew Mikasa's thoughts, he didn't want to live a stable life like Mikasa. He longed for freedom, revenge, and wanted to kill all the giants. Before that, he didn't want Mikasa to worry about him because of their feelings for him. Chapter 24. He didn't expect that his delay in expressing his attitude was the most painful thing for Mikasa. It was a very uncomfortable feeling to like someone whose attitude towards you was unclear. "Alan, don't you like Mikasa?" Lin Xuan was just joking with him, trying to bring him and Mikasa together. Anyone with a discerning eye could see the relationship between them, but Alan was slow to react, which was very unfair to Mikasa. Lin Xuan's question was too direct, so Alan had no idea how to answer. Could he say he didn't like her? Of course not, he definitely had Mikasa in his heart, but he couldn't just say he liked Mikasa because they were still relatively young, and he had always had an obsession in his heart. He wanted to expel all the titans, and before that he didn't want to talk about love affairs. Hesitation proves that you have this idea in your heart, otherwise with your personality you would reject it cleanly and neatly. Lin Xuan smiled. It would be too difficult to find flaws in Eren, so why not just focus on Mikasa? Mikasa, you regard Eren as a family member, right? Mikasa nodded. Ever since her parents were killed and Eren rescued her from the human traffickers, she has regarded Eren as her own relative or even the closest person. Lin Xuan saw Mikasa nodded, then continued to ask with a smile, to be precise, you not only regard him as a relative, but also as the pillar of your life and as your lover, right? Mikasa was shocked and looked at Lin Xuan in surprise. She was surprised by his statement. Krista, let's go to the other side to eat. Let's leave this space for the two of them to have some quiet time. Lin Xuan smiled and helped Krista leave. Of course, he said those words on purpose. After he said those words, Lin Xuan couldn't control what kind of reaction Mikasa and Eren would have. The help that outsiders can provide is limited. Lin Xuan has basically done the most. The next thing depends on them. If Eren doesn't dare to take that step, he can only wait quietly. The little angel's injury is not too serious. Under Lin Xuan's careful care, her injury recovered in about a week. This made Lin Xuan very happy, but just after he took care of the little angel's injury, he found that he was suddenly out of touch with the training of other students in the next training. It's not that he slowed down, but that his training progress was advanced. Instructor, why don't you let me train with other students? The training corps has almost assigned someone to conduct one-on-one training for Lin Xuan, including fighting, field training, three-dimensional mobile training, and attack drills against giants, etc. After more than a month of training, Lin Xuan feels that he has made great progress. His current strength is completely different from when he fought the giant before. But in the past month, his time was fully arranged, and his schedule with other students was completely out of touch. Except for seeing them when he returned to the dormitory to sleep every day, Lin Xuan basically didn't see them for a whole month. This can't go on. Lin Xuan was very worried. He finally caught up with the little angel. If he lost the little angel for this reason, it would be too unlucky. And Lin Xuan couldn't understand why these instructors took him out for special training alone. Even if they took a fancy to him and thought he was a good seedling among this batch of students, there was no need to go through so much trouble. It's Lin Xuan, sit down. Instructor Keith seemed to be reviewing the next stage of training plan. When he saw Lin Xuan knocking on the door and coming in, he asked Lin Xuan to sit down. It was completely different from the scene when Lin Xuan first came to the training ground. Instructor Keith was very fierce at the time. He scolded the recruits as beasts and trash. He wanted to hit the self-esteem of every recruit before he would give up. But at this time, Instructor Keith was not fierce at all. His attitude towards Lin Xuan was very peaceful, even a little polite. This made Lin Xuan a little strange. No matter how outstanding he was just a recruit in the training corps. As an instructor, the other party was much higher than him in status. Why was he so polite to him? Instructor, I want to go back to our training team. Although he didn't know why, Lin Xuan didn't want to wait any longer at this time. He didn't beat around the bush with Instructor Keith and directly explained his purpose. Instructor Keith seemed to have noticed Lin Xuan's intention a long time ago. He stopped writing and looked at him after hearing what he said. After looking at him for a while, he asked, Lin, Are you willing to go to the front line to kill the enemy and make contributions to mankind, or are you willing to go behind the scene wall to protect a more important person and make greater contributions to mankind? Ah! What the hell? Go to the scene wall? Protect people? Who to protect? Lin Xuan didn't expect the other party to say such a thing at all, and was stunned for a moment. Instructor Keith smiled and said, although there is a shortage of soldiers on the front line, especially after the counterattack against the giants begins, more soldiers will inevitably be needed to arrive at the front line, and our training corps has been doing such things, but although there is a gap in such soldiers, they are not as scarce as on another front. Do you understand? Instructor Keith did not explain what the other front referred to, but because the enemy was a giant, they did not need to conduct infiltration and sabotage, and there were no spies. Therefore, Lin Xuan understood that the other front was probably to protect a high-level leader. Chapter 25. Lin Xuan was not happy to let him go behind the wall of Sina. Because if he went there, he would certainly be safe, but in this way, Lin Xuan would also lose the opportunity to contact the giants and kill them. Without the giants' combat exploits, how could Lin Xuan gain experience to upgrade? The further back you go, the less training experience you have compared to the experience needed for upgrading, so if you want to upgrade, you must go to the front line to fight. And Lin Xuan is hiding in the wall of Sina. Unless the giants break through the wall of Sina, he will never be able to contact the giants. As for being a bodyguard for senior officials, this is also something Lin Xuan is unwilling to do. Those senior officials are either old men or old women, and they are used to being domineering and always like to boss others around. Lin Xuan doesn't want to be ordered around, so he doesn't want such a choice. Since he doesn't want to be ordered around and wants to gain combat experience, Lin Xuan should stay on the front line to investigate. Regiment or garrison corps are all feasible. But you can't just go to the military police regiment. Moreover, the little angel's strength is relatively poor. Although she has always been very hard-working in training, she still can't make it into the top 10 recruits. Since she can't make it into the top 10, then she will definitely not be able to go to the military police regiment. If the little angel can't go to the military police regiment, then there is no point for Lin Xuan to go to the military police regiment. If the little angel fights outside and lacks protection and is killed by the giant, then Lin Xuan will be heartbroken. So he planned to stay with the little angel from the beginning. In the end, before the little angel's identity is revealed and becomes the queen, Lin Xuan must ensure her safety, which means that he is unlikely to leave the little angel too far. Therefore, Lin Xuan rejected Instructor Keith without hesitation. Instructor, I want to stay at the front line and don't want to go behind the wall of Sina. Lin Xuan said this in a decisive tone, without any intention of discussing it with Instructor Keith. Instructor Keith didn't seem surprised by his answer at all. He smiled and nodded to Lin Xuan. Well, we understand. You should return to the team. Lin Xuan didn't quite understand this answer. When he said return to the team, did he mean return to the training corps with the others, or continue the special training they gave him? Instructor, I am back. Go back to the camp directly. During the time you were away, someone kept asking about you. It seems that they care about you very much. Instructor Keith interrupted him with a smile and said to him. This sentence seemed to have a deep meaning, and his words made Lin Xuan instantly think of a silly and stupid girl. The little angel must be worried about her situation, so she comes to the instructor every day to inquire about her news. This little fool must have been worried for a long time. Thank you, instructor. I'm leaving now. Lin Xuan saluted straight and then ran away. He couldn't wait to see the little angel. Instructor Keith saw Lin Xuan's loss of composure, shook his head slightly, turned out the previous appraisal book, and frowned slightly. This appraisal book was the conclusion drawn by the personnel who had taken pictures before after a month of targeted special training for Lin Xuan. In their eyes, they had a very high evaluation of Lin Xuan. Everyone agreed that Lin Xuan had great potential and his current strength was also very strong. Considering that he was less than 13 years old, if he was trained well in the future, he would definitely become a new god of war in the empire. He could even replace Levi's position. Although Levi was known as the strongest warrior in the empire, in fact, Levi was not the strongest one. He is also a member of the Ackerman family. Behind the wall of Sina, beside a certain senior official, there is a bodyguard who is also very powerful. His fame may not be as big as the well-known Levi, but his strength is not inferior to Levi at all. He is a real powerhouse. But this guy is getting older, and he may go downhill in a dozen years, so their military police will choose to look for a potential person to replace this person. Levi's strength is the closest, and Levi was originally a good choice. But Levi's age is too old. The captain is now 30 years old. At this age, it is no longer suitable to be trained as a successor, and considering Levi was excluded because of his dark history as a gangster in the underground city of the royal capital, and the people above him didn't believe in his loyalty. When they were investigating, they heard that a good seedling had appeared in the training corps, so they quickly rushed over, like a shark smelling blood, and set their sights on Lin Xuan. After Lin Xuan killed the giant, the people above had already arrived and made special training for Lin Xuan, hoping to see Lin Xuan's true potential through these trainings. The results of this month's training confirmed their guess. Although Lin Xuan is only 13 years old, his fighting ability may not be inferior to the experienced and powerful veterans in the Survey Corps. And every veteran of the Survey Corps, they are all elites of the elite in the army. So they judged that Lin Xuan's strength met their requirements, so they wrote this appraisal letter, recognizing Lin Xuan's qualifications for training as an heir. At this time, this appraisal letter was placed in front of Instructor Keith. As long as he signed on it, he would pass Lin Xuan's review, and Lin Xuan would be sent behind the wall of Sina to be trained as the leader's bodyguard. However, after seeing Lin Xuan's attitude just now, Instructor Keith changed his mind at this time. Since Lin Xuan wanted to stay, then he naturally had no reason to send him away. So he picked up the pen and wrote a negative evaluation on this appraisal letter. Since the other party recognized Lin Xuan's strength, he would make a fuss about loyalty.